All right, welcome everybody to the Union City Town Meeting, Board Meeting, February 10th, 2025, 6 p.m. Town Hall, 101 North Elm, Union City, Oklahoma. Ryan, could you pray for us?
Bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for this town. Thank you for allowing us to get here safely. Watch over us as we leave. Guide and direct us as we do work for this town. In your heavenly name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Keith?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bob McGregor.
Present.
Ryan Dawson.
Here.
Keith Dennis.
Here.
Chad Fisher.
Here.
James Smith.
Present.
Call to order at 6:01.
All right, number 5, consent agenda items. All matters listed under consent are considered by the County Union City Board of Trustees to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. Any Board of Trustee member may, however, remove an item from the consent agenda by request. Do I have a motion on 5?
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
I have a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright, motion approved. Alright, I'm gonna bounce around a little bit here, so bear with me. We're gonna move up to 15B. You guys are the longest drive. Fur and Associates, speaker Kim Fur and Associates. No, it's Kim Fur. No.
All right. Here we go. This is the first audit report. Isn't this exciting? You're welcome, sir.
This is not the final.
This is final.
Oh, okay.
For 2020. Here's 2 copies. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. So this is for 2020. So keep in mind what we're going to talk about is 5 years old. Okay? All right. So let me explain how audits work. Go to the first page after the table of contents. It looks like this. Okay? Okay. I'm going to explain this to you in normal language, not accounting talk. Okay. So in the world of auditing, there's 3 kinds of grades. There's what we call an unqualified opinion. It's like a grade of an A. There's a qualified opinion, like a grade of a C. And there's an adverse opinion, like a grade of an F. Okay? And as you can see, very first line, you failed. You failed your audit. Absolutely. And the main reason for failing your audit is in this paragraph here, 3rd paragraph down. It says management was not able to present financial statements that are free from material misstatements. During the course of our audit, it was discovered that documentation to substantiate expenses, grants, revenues, minutes from the board, cash, and capital assets could not be obtained. Therefore, we're unable to place reliance on any of the financial information presented in this report. Okay? All right. So basically, everything in this report is a bunch of garbage. You cannot trust a single number in this report, is what I'm saying. Okay? But let's pretend like we can. Okay?
I like that.
Let's pretend like we can, because there is some useful data in here that really you guys need to know. Okay? So I'm going to turn to page 4. Okay. On page 4, let me explain how this works. This right here is a statement of net position. It's a snapshot, 1 day in time. As of June 30th, 2020, on this day, which is the last day of your 2020 year, this is what happened. And this is why we need to talk about numbers that we can't trust, because there's important stuff on here. The first column on page 4 is called the governmental activities. That's your general government, police, fire, cemetery, community center, street and alley, anything but public works. Public works is called business type activities. Okay? Now, what I want to point out on this page, on that particular day, it said you had $858,000 in your government bank account, $451,000 in your Public Works bank account for a grand total of 1.3. We don't think that number is right, and I'll get into more later, okay? But what I really want to point out on this page is in the middle of this page called payroll liabilities of $323,707. Y'all see that number? Guys. Okay. I know he's trying so hard, so I'll talk louder. Okay, bless his heart. And that's okay. You're trying. You're being a good dad. Okay. So if you notice, there's $323,000. You see the $84,049 for a grand total of $407,756. We think that is your unpaid payroll taxes. We think, as of June 30th, that's how much payroll taxes you did not pay. We think. Y'all getting the severity of this?
We didn't pay that much, or
We
we didn't pay
think-
it on that much.
We think you owe the IRS and Oklahoma Tax Commission $407,000. We think. We're not sure.
So how will, and you may get to this later,
Yeah, go for it.
how will, the IRS eventually come to a number that they think is correct? Will they go off of these numbers, or they'll review it
No, they're gonna
themselves,
make up their own numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into why they're gonna make it, well, let's just jump ahead.
No, don't let me do that.
Okay.
Stay in order.
Okay, stay in order. IRS will make up the numbers,
Okay.
but we think y'all really do owe $407,000 in payroll taxes. We're not sure, okay? That is really the only important thing to point out on this page. The rest of these numbers, I don't trust. Okay, so let's turn to page 5. I wish I could say numbers are good, but we'll get into more. Page 5 is the whole year. It's a accumulation of 12 months worth, okay? So if these numbers were trustworthy, then I would be able to tell you that this first column of numbers, you see this $3,774,081, that's what it costs to run your town for a year if I could trust these numbers. That's a lot of money. $3.7 million. If I can trust these numbers, let me show you how bad this is. If these numbers are trustworthy, we're going to go to the very last column, third number from the bottom, negative $531,000. You see that number? If we could trust these numbers, your town lost $531,000 that year. $500,000 your town lost. But I can't trust these numbers. And we're going to get into more about trusting these numbers in a minute. You'll see why we can't. Okay? As we get trustworthy numbers, I would talk more about numbers because the numbers make me extremely happy, but I can't. So let's go to page I'm trying to think of what I want to talk about. Let's go to page 7. Now 7 is page 5 broken down in more detail. On page 5, I didn't go into major detail of it because it's overwhelming, but 5 combines the government plus the public works. It added the two numbers together, and page 7 breaks it apart. Okay? So we're going to talk about this. First column, third number from the bottom, negative $30,912. Okay? That's what your town, the general fund lost. If it wasn't for the other funds transferring money into the government general office, the general fund would have lost, you see this big old negative $399? The general fund spent $399,000 more than it brought in. And it relied on the other departments to fund it. Which is okay, it's not against the law to do it. But that's really big. The general government lost $400,000 and it relied upon other departments to cover its butt. You probably didn't know that.
Well, the bulk of this work came in the middle of this fiscal year, and that's why we arrived, it was bleeding money.
It was absolutely bleeding money. But again, I can't trust these numbers.
Right. Well, and going back, I mean,
Please.
I'm just thinking.
No, go for it, dude.
On the payroll thing, on the very first thing, on your payroll, so
Yeah.
that's the payroll taxes due for fiscal year, 2019, 2020.
As of that date.
Yeah, as of that
That
date, so
date.
that.
It could be
that-
older
It
stuff.
could be really older stuff, okay, cause that's 70 or 80% of our payroll for 1 year, so.
Correct.
So
But it
how,
could be
so
more
we don't
years.
have the date of when they stopped paying payroll, or stopped paying the payroll tax.
No,
We don't even know when they stopped doing that.
I'll get into that, but no, we don't.
Okay.
No. Good stuff, good questions. Okay, so let's go to page 10. Page 10 is the public works. It's the income and the expenses for 1 year for the public works, okay? Now, we're going to look at, in the middle of the page, negative 13,335. The public works lost only $13,000 by operations. That's not good. Public works is supposed to make the money to fund the general government, to fund the police, the fire, the library, the streets and alleys, the cemetery. Public works is your moneymaker, and you lost money. That's not good.
They were being, I mean, there's one instance, like El Reno was charging more for water than what we were billing for water.
Yeah.
Like, it was just one of the things that we.
Trash cans.
Yeah, I mean,
They hadn't raised
the town was
trash
being,
cans in 10 years.
yeah, they hadn't raised water prices, trash can, none of those things, and we were paying more
Than what you were charging
than what we were
citizens.
charging our citizens, yeah.
Yeah. Here's where you broke the account, government, or state statute. Let me show you where you broke state statute. See this positive 82,144? That came from your governmental funds. Governmental funds cannot transfer money into public works. Public works has to fund itself, period. You cannot transfer in backwards.
Question, could that have been ARPA funds that were transferred in?
I don't know.
'Cause that
The
was
records aren't
right
there.
when COVID hit.
I don't know. The records aren't there.
funds in 21.
ARPA,
They started coming in 20.
CARES Act was in 2020 and ARPA came in 21. But again, I don't know, and we're gonna get into why, I don't know. But according to the records we were given, $82,000 came from government funds to public works. Not supposed to happen. Not supposed to happen. Okay? All right. Let's go to page 11. Let's start talking about some unexplained items. Well, our first unexplained item that we don't know, so we just had a plug to make a balance, because we like to balance as accountants. On page 11, in the middle of the page, you got a positive $29,030. You'll see that? It's called prior period adjustment. We couldn't get your place to balance. We knew what your cash and bank was at the end of your last audit, and we think we know what your cash and bank is at the end of 2020, and we think we know where it came in and where it spent up at the top, but we couldn't balance. So in order to balance, we had to plug in a $29,000 discrepancy. I don't know. We have no clue why or where or what. We just knew what our beginning balance was, our ending balance is, and our ins and outs that we could prove.
Another quick question.
Sure, while we're here.
Right after the last meeting that you were here, they went over to the, area where all this documentation's all kept, and was able to find additional boxes from those fiscal years, and y'all went through those boxes, and was there any useful information that came from those boxes, or not?
No,
No, okay.
no, unfortunately.
It was all junk.
It was all junk. It was all on this big construction project y'all had, or really, really old documents, but nothing of use.
Big construction project?
They said it had architect stuff, and it talked about plans and construction documents. That's what my team told me.
13 boxes of that stuff?
That's what my team told me.
I think he's talking about the stuff in the firehouse.
Oh,
Yeah.
the fire, not from the blue house,
Yeah.
No,
the blue
yeah, from the
building. Oh,
firehouse,
the
yeah.
blue building was really old stuff. Yeah, not enough to change any of our numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so those are the numbers. And so starting on page 12 is a whole bunch of notes that are required by accounting standards. And I'm gonna just point out one on page 16. Y'all can read it. There's a lot of boring accounting terms nobody cares, but auditors do. But on page 16, I wanna point out some stuff. This is huge. What you're looking at on page 16 is the transfer schedule. We are required to show transfers going in, transfers going out, where they came from, and the dollar amount, right? So you can see money being moved. Again, I can't trust these numbers, but based upon what we've seen, y'all transferred around $856,000. That's a lot of movement of money. And it's not necessarily COVID. The only thing that sounds like COVID is this $371,000. The rest of it is like, scratch my head, I don't know why you're transferring the money around. Okay? So that's something to look at. Let's see.
Does this say there was $185,000 brought from the fire department to the general fund?
Absolutely. That's what the number showed
Like, I don't know
us.
if these were before our time or right as we got here, but I don't remember any kind of transfers like this at all.
Well, isn't it quite interesting? Let's look at that. Fire department gave general fund $185,000, and then general fund gave the fire department $74,000. Don't know why.
Is David in here?
5 years ago.
David, do you remember making a big purchase?
Brush bumper?
Is this just a total or one specific transfer?
I can't answer that question. But I can answer your question on any major purchases. Let me find that.
But these are actual bank accounts that this money is being transferred from to.
This is what we
So
can.
you should be able to see those, that information.
We saw the ins and the outs. Page 24 answers your question. So we can flip back to 16, but look at the bottom of page 24. Page 24 is a recap of major purchases, okay? Bottom of 24. Now, it's not broken down by fire department or general fund, but you can see y'all purchased $371,000 worth of land.
And that we remember, obviously.
You've got improvements of $67,000, and you bought $243,000 worth of machinery. We're in that additions column, guys.
Does machinery include like police vehicles and tractors and all those types of things?
Yeah. In the public works, which is the business type activities, you can see you bought, equipment of $187,000 in public works.
That would be the new John Deere, right?
I would assume.
Not partially.
Somewhere around in there, I'm not sure.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh,
A lot of times, that stuff gets paid for, you know, like, half municipal, half general or something like that, maybe that's, or the,
You said they purchased a backhoe back then?
Yeah, how old is it?
no, that was 2000, like 11 or 12.
Okay.
the first
I don't know.
I remember we had a tractor go down and had one replace it, yeah.
I don't know. Again, we can't trust the numbers.
Mhm.
All right. So let's see. Let's flip through. We're gonna go backwards a little bit, maybe. Yeah, we were in 16. I'll leave it. Well, there's really nothing much between 16 and 24, so we're fine. Let's go back. Let's go to page 25. Okay. So on note number 7, knowing this amount's important. So note number 7, customer deposits. There's $24,000 of meter deposits according to the calculations we were given. But we're going to talk about that later on in this report, that we couldn't substantiate that amount. So just know about that. Let's see. There's a whole bunch of this stuff, but y'all really don't care about some of this because it's really old. So let's go to page 30. It looks like this. has no page number, it's a letter. Okay. Okay. This letter is what we call an internal control report. So the first letter you got tells you, can we trust the numbers? The second report, which is this one, says, in your processes, did you have problems? Yes, you did. And that's what this report talks about, okay? So, let's talk about, I had to read real fast because I forgot. Okay. There's two kinds of problems that we're going to go over. The first one is called a significant deficiency. Let me explain what that means. A significant deficiency is where it's an isolated problem that only affects one part, one thing. Let's give an example. Let's say you accidentally wrote a hot check one time, wrote a hot check. Well, it's an isolated problem that you wrote a hot check, right? It's not, you balance your checkbook every month, it's just an isolated situation. That's called a significant deficiency. Now, there's another problem that we're going to go over called a material weakness, meaning there's this problem that kind of encompasses the whole situation, that's why you have this error. It's a material weakness. So my example of a hot check is if you never balanced your checkbook, never checked your bank balance, so you just wrote checks willy-nilly like you were 18 years old with a brand new checkbook, right? Then the material weakness be the fact that you never balanced your checkbook. And the problem was you bounced the check, but the real reason was you never balanced your checkbook, right? Material weakness. Okay, you got both kinds. Let's talk about the significant deficiencies first. It's page 32. The first significant deficiency, meaning it's an isolated problem, is number one, lack of capitalization policy. I'm going to explain what a capitalization policy is. It's a policy relating to how you track your major equipment purchases. So when we were looking at the additions on page 24, you can't verify the numbers because you didn't have a way, a policy, to track major purchases.
My VIN number or something like that.
Right. Some kind of inventory, your rolling stock, your equipment. Do you know which backhoe is yours? Do you know which police officer truck is yours? Where's your VIN numbers? Are you tracking?
Adam keeps an asset list. I know on your end, you keep an asset list with all of that stuff. I've seen that spreadsheet before.
Right. But back then, were you tracking generators? Were you tracking major purchases? No, y'all weren't. At least not in the documentation we
So
were
in
given.
the private sector, we keep asset stickers on everything, and they have an asset number,
Sure.
and we track all that stuff.
Yeah, some of my places do. They have barcodes on things. Yeah, totally fine.
And we're required to do inventory once a year. I've never seen such a thing in public work and this stuff.
Some towns do.
Do they?
Some towns do. Some towns do it on a quarterly, some towns do it
Because
on
I've asked Adam
annual.
questions in regards to like number of firearms does the town own, number of, different things, and she's right. I mean, I don't know of any program that this town has to track any of those things.
It could even just be a simple little book,
Yeah.
like a diary journal thingy that you write in. That's what one town does. They give me this journal book, it's got flowers on it, it's all girly girl. But when I open it, it's very clear. The general fund has this equipment, the street and alley has this equipment. You guys don't have it for this year, ending in 2020. So can't verify that you really have what you have. Meaning, you could have bought a major piece of equipment, hid it under supplies, hid it somewhere in the financial statement, and it had legs and walked off, and you guys never know. Because you don't have a listing.
The board turnover rate here is still high, or has been in the past, that I can assure you, there's never been a tracking of that.
Correct. So you have a significant deficiency in your equipment tracking. It's called a capitalization policy, okay? Now, the management response on everything is, management will review and make appropriate changes, just to let you know, because there's so many problems, that's your response, and it's a good response. Okay, let's talk about number 2. Improper cash reconciliations. This, again, is a significant deficiency. It only affects balancing the checkbook. Okay, your problem is, now mind you, this is 2020. Mind you, in your bank balancing, when you balance your checkbook, you list everything that cleared the bank, and everything in your accounting system that you wrote or deposited that hasn't cleared, okay? So you mark off what's cleared, you keep track of what hasn't cleared, okay? In your bank reconciliations, y'all had deposits that never cleared the bank, that dated back to 2013, and they totaled $62,000. So you recorded the deposits in the accounting, but they never made it to the bank of $62,259. Okay?
But do you know what each one of those amounts were?
Yeah. If the report we were given was correct, yeah.
Right, okay, so.
We're going off of.
I'm trying to think, like, I mean, you know, again, I keep thinking fraud, because that's how my brain's trained to think in this, in private work, we're always looking for that. So, why can we, well, who within the state, does the state auditor have the authority to take those and look at those deposits that didn't make the bank that time, and then
If you could find the
investigate?
paperwork,
Huh?
if you could find the paperwork,
Obviously, that's.
well, that's number 4.
Yeah, okay, keep going. I'll just be quiet, we're never.
Just be patient. We're gonna get there. He wants to jump ahead so bad. Okay, and then listing on, again, this bank reconciliation, y'all had $42,000 of checks dated all the way back to 2009 that never cleared the bank.
What's the amount again?
42,101 checks that the council signed that never cleared the bank. So why would you guys sign checks? Maybe not you individually, but you, the council.
When we came on board, like, I mean, to my knowledge, like, we didn't even sign the check, we didn't see the POs, we didn't see anything. We had to ask for all that information, then we had to create a policy around, like, the only people allowed to approve those and sign those was the board, which started creating that stat that we get before you sing. But before then, I mean, I would look at this stuff and I'd be like, what, I mean, I don't know what I'm signing for here, I haven't seen a single receipt of any of these things. Like,
So $42,000 worth of checks were marked in your accounting system as an expense, and they were never cashed. So think about that. The money didn't leave, but the opportunity for the money to leave was there. So,
you can prove that it didn't leave?
no, I can't prove it didn't leave,
Okay.
but I can't prove that,
it didn't leave.
right, can't prove it did or didn't. But I can tell you that in your accounting system, you had checks totaling $42,000 that were approved that could have left. So, give you an example. I'm not saying this happened here. I am not saying it happened here. But in another town, what happened was they would get checks approved by council, and you have a way where you can erase who it's paid to and put in a different name and then cash a check. It's got all the correct signatures on it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, like, and again, in my memory, and I'd have to go back and ask Jessica, maybe could answer this question, but, I mean, again, we, the board, did not sign those checks were signed in that office over there, right?
Well, that's number 3. Number 3 is blank check signatures.
Yeah.
Right here. Next one. You're like,
For the record, we fixed these, but it's just pissing me off.
Number 3 is lack of proper signatures. So when we're doing our investigation, we're looking at bank statements. We're looking at, okay, so let's go to number 3. Talk about check signatures. When we're looking through bank reconciliations, we're looking at copies of the checks that the bank gives back. And there are not proper signatures on so many that Bonnie just quit counting.
Whose signatures on? I mean, what are the signatures that are there?
I don't have that data.
Okay.
But it wasn't the proper signatures. It wasn't 2 signatures. It wasn't signatures that we could read. Sometimes there was no signatures. It was so pervasive that she just quit counting. She didn't. I'm like, how many checks were signed improperly? She goes, Kim, I just quit counting. I don't know. I just gave up. I said, okay. Too many to count. Okay. So those are significant deficiencies, meaning they handled an isolated problem. Your capital assets weren't being tracked. You weren't doing your bank reconciliations, balancing your checkbook correctly, and you weren't signing checks correctly. 3 significant deficiencies. Now let's talk material weakness. This is the bad part. So, you ready? Go to page 33. No, you're not. It's not good. Okay. Number 4, lack of documentation. Material weakness is an overarching problem. It's a problem, a pervasive problem. It's affecting everything, and it affected a lot of categories. So let's talk about them in order. Grants, in the middle of the page. The town received Rural Economic Action Plan funds in the amount of $55,000. However, no documents could be located to substantiate revenues or expenditures. We don't know if he spent that money or not. We don't know if he got the money or not. But the grant was closed out.
So when deposits are made, there's not a notation on each deposit as to what that deposit comes from?
Maybe, half of the time, sometimes,
I mean, like.
if we can find it.
But can't banks, I mean, if you, I mean, I know like you can, and court attorneys, you can subpoena the banks to provide information, but can they not pull the information on all of those deposits and?
They could, but usually what happens is on the deposit slip, that the person who's making the deposit, they usually put REAP money or ASCOG money, so we kinda know who it's from, but according to ASCOG, the grant was closed out. But we can't show where the money went in, or where the money went out, and you actually even have a fund called REAP. It's in here, where it should have gone into. If you wanna look at that account, it's on page 38 and page 39. Let's kind of jump into the REAP. On page 38, this talks about, you got big old zeros. Because as of the end of the year, your balance in your REAP account was zero. But if you go to the page after, page 39, we stuck it on there because we knew it happened. Because ASCOG told us it happened. We don't know where it's at. So we just assumed your records say that it was there, and your records say it was transferred out. We got no proof of it anywhere. And ASCOG confirmed they gave it to you, and you turned in documentation to close it. But we don't know what happened to it.
So even when so you should be able to know around the time of when that REAP grant was paid.
Oh, ASCOG told us, we couldn't find it.
And in the bank deposits, you can't find that amount, period.
No, sir. Nope.
There's, I mean, help,
$5,000.
but help me understand, like,
Yeah.
help me understand.
Sure.
Okay, I'm just hypothetically, I work in these offices,
Yeah.
and we receive a check in the mail for $55K. How in the world could I take that check and go do anything with it?
Well, I was involved in an embezzlement case where the office manager of a pediatrician in Lawton, it's public knowledge, so I can talk about it now. She took checks from insurance companies to Liberty National Bank and walked up to the counter and said, "I'm Dr. Lewis, cash my check." They never asked for ID. And she stole $1.2 million
Well, I would
from
love
Dr.
to think
Lewis.
that the Bank of Union at the time would not have allowed an employee to walk in there and cash a check from a town for 55 freaking K.
I don't know.
These are all hypothetical, but it's just.
They're all hypothetical.
Makes no sense.
Been in on it.
Were you guys given the REAP, like each of the folders that had the REAP and the ACOG and everything, the expenditures, everything? I mean, there's some nice big thick folders that Gina kept that showed every single thing went in and out.
Couldn't find it in the bank account.
I just wondered, maybe y'all didn't have that,
Yeah,
access to that.
no, but thank you for asking. Yeah, no, we did.
Okay.
And that's why we knew REAP existed, and that's why we
Maybe that
contacted
was where-
ASCOG.
Did Elaine or Gina handle the majority of the deposits back then? Or did both?
Yeah.
As far as grants, that was all Gina until Elaine slowly started pulling some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And once it went in that office.
You couldn't find it in your records. Now, I'm not saying there's embezzlement. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's not in the records. So read however you want into it. It's not in your records.
Not deposited in a single bank account.
Couldn't find it. Okay, capital assets. We already talked about this, lack of documentation on capital assets. We don't know what y'all have, okay? Payroll. Let's talk about this payroll. 941 documentation cannot be located for the major and non-major governmental funds or proprietary funds for any quarter in this year. So in the year of audit, we had no payroll tax report. So when I said you owe IRS and Oklahoma Tax Commission $400,000,
Can't the
Can't prove
IRS
it.
or them tell us when that stopped getting paid? Wouldn't they be able to look into their records and tell us when that
Yeah,
wasn't getting paid?
good.
And who can reach out to that information? Michelle?
Michelle can.
Can you, just action item, check with the IRS and find out when the last payroll
I got it.
Well, it's in there.
What we had?
Yeah, but we couldn't, no records to know what you should have paid or what you did pay.
We can correlate that though to an election period potentially, and a new employee coming on board, and then that no longer. But, again.
For 2019 through 2020, no records, and you should keep your 941 reports, because you have to reconcile your 941 reports to your W-2 in order to make sure that you issue correct W-2s. No documentation.
So you go back on the gross income and figure what they made and.
If there was payroll records, yeah. Yeah. And one way that we discovered embezzlement in the payroll department, and I'm not saying this happened, but I can't say it didn't happen, but one individual, when we were auditing Goodwill Industries in Southwest Oklahoma, the way the person embezzled is they took their take-home pay, never changed, but they gave themselves a raise and put it all in federal taxes.
And collected it at the end of the year.
And when they filed their tax refund, they got all their embezzlement money. But they only approved the take-home pay. Nobody ever knew. Nobody ever looked at W-2s. Nobody reconciled the 941 report. Never did. So we were hired as the auditors. I'm not saying it happened, I'm just saying it could happen, okay? Another category, expenses. We're still on page 33. A listing of transactions was selected. After review of this list in relation to the documents obtained, it was decided that no transactions could be reasonably located, therefore no testing for expenses could be performed. So every single expense listed in this report, we are not validating. We are not saying we could find anything. There were so many missing pieces, missing invoices, missing purchase orders, missing anything, that everything we selected, we did not get a reasonable assurance. Reasonable assurance, it's real easy. You pull 1,000 transactions, I only need 20%, 200. I test 100, I only need 20 to be there. That's it. We could not get reasonable assurance of any expense being properly paid or authorized. So we just quit testing. Because we decided to stop spending your money. It was that bad. Okay?
In 2019, maybe Adam can answer, or maybe
Sure,
you.
sure.
How was payroll handled? Help us know that, I mean, y'all use like an internal, some kind of software on the computer? I mean, it wasn't done by, obviously.
I was a lieutenant then, I have no clue.
You don't have no clue either, yeah.
I believe it was did payroll.
Huh?
Gina did payroll.
Gina did payroll?
And from there, it moved on to Elaine.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, software was Jack. Yeah, software.
Yeah. And it does payroll good.
Huh?
Jack's program does payroll good. They do a good
Yeah.
job. Yeah, it's a good program.
But it's only as good as the data you're putting in it.
Correct.
We submitted the time sheets and her and then.
There you go.
They've all been deleted, yeah,
Yeah, no records.
before I got here,
Somebody went through and deleted all of those.
before I got here.
Yeah, it's the only way to get stuff out of Jack's program is the delete button.
We don't know, too many people had access to it.
Okay, let's talk about citations. Mr. Police Officer, you wanna hear this?
Adam's like, even I'm not paid enough.
Citations.
With me.
We selected 932 tickets, traffic citations.
Random from this year, from this physical year, okay.
Right, from July 1 of 2019 to June 30, 2020, we selected 932. We had a tip that was an area to investigate, so we investigated it. Of those 932 citations, they should have had 1,147 payments, okay? So we actually looked at 1,147 payments. Okay, of those 1,147 payments, 590 of the online payments could not be traced. Meaning, they were marked paid online, we could not cannot find the money in the bank for 590 online
Yeah,
transactions.
this number's always bothered me, it never matched the amount of tickets he writes versus what shows to be collected versus what shows up on the
I thought we
engineer's
just went
report.
to online payments, or how, I guess 2019, I guess.
2019. Of the ones paid in person, 88 of the ones paid in person, meaning cash, check, money order, 88 could not be traced to deposit.
88 of 88.
Well, we actually, so if you
Oh.
add the two numbers together, 590 plus 88 is 678 of the 1,100 we looked for.
Yeah. 55%.
55% we could not find where the money made it to the bank, but the ticket was marked paid. Okay?
All clean forces, I don't know.
Okay. Any questions on number 4? See, that's why lack of documentation was stinky. Number 5 on page 34. During the testing of citizens' bills for citizens' utility bills, sorry, that's bad grammar, it was noted that proper shut-offs and late payment penalties were not assessed. So you weren't charging people for shut-offs and late penalties.
But this was this a specific group of people?
Well, we randomly selected people, and then Michelle told us, oh boy, she found a whole bunch more.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have the exact number of the people that got away with no shut-offs or late fees, because what we found, and then Michelle said she found a whole bunch more when we were at the attorney's office about a year ago. Yeah.
And Teresa, this was handled in Gina's office as well at that time?
Mhm.
And so she was waiving late
Well,
fees or?
I can't say she's waiving, and I can't say she was charging, but let me tell you what happened in the town of Apache. Public knowledge. Town of Apache. The gal was charging late fees and shut-offs. She had to pay that in cash, but it never showed up in the financial statement. I'm not saying that's happening here, but what I'm saying is there was no evidence of shut-offs and late fees.
How did they catch the lady in Apache?
Oh, we just randomly showed up. I have friends that live in Apache, and I said, be late on your water bill, I'll pay your late fee. She says, okay, but you gotta pay the late fee in cash. I said, okay, I'll pay you in cash. So she went in and paid it, and then the very next day I showed up to audit, and there was no late payment in the books.
That's real time catching.
It was real time catching, it was a tip. I can't say it happened here, but I can't say it didn't happen here. I'm not accusing of anything, I'm just saying, can't prove it. But that is a sign when you have no shut-off and no late fees. Talk to your citizens, see what they say about late fees and cut-offs. Do they have to pay it in cash? Do they pay it? Does anybody have receipts?
I only write checks to this time.
Smart. I'm not saying I'm not saying she stole, I'm just saying you can't prove
More
that
not
she
me.
did.
I don't deal with cash tickets.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Number 6. Lack of meter deposit liability, okay? So, you had, basically what that means is, you had $24,000 of people's money for meter deposits that was not recorded on your books anywhere. So we don't know if that's a correct number. Do you really have, or are you only really supposed to have $24,000 in meter deposits? We could not substantiate how much you should have in meter deposits. So, could somebody have paid meter deposits and put the money in their account? Yeah. Or in their pocket instead of the account? Probably, because you have no accurate
David, how many
record.
meters we got?
262?
52, something like that?
Yeah, but your prices of your meter deposits change.
252, okay.
So, you have people that lived in your town for 50 years, their meter deposit's different than somebody today.
These are people coming and going.
This is everybody. This is from the first 1884.
Mhm.
Your first meter deposit should be recorded if they're still alive. Okay, anyway.
There were not
Just-
deposits for the very longest.
What year did deposits start?
Don't get me to look at
I was curious.
We can't
It
substantiate
was
it.
before I started here,
Yeah.
but I don't know how much they had that.
Just 2 of my houses were built then, so.
Mhm.
I thought it was about $1,000 deposit when I got signed up.
He's probably right.
There was no deposits back when I started. Wow, wow.
That's was already kind of talked about a little bit, was number, on page 35 is your payroll tax liabilities, where you have unpaid payroll taxes, okay? So, we kind of talked about that. So that's 2020 in a nutshell. That's why you failed. We can't trust the numbers and your procedures were
Okay,
stinky.
so, I mean,
You had a whole nother one to do.
obviously, like, I mean, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
want a state auditor to do everything they could in their power to figure out what the crap went on there, but
There's no record.
okay, so let's say so I mean, obviously, you know, the payroll tax thing is gonna be a major issue, right, as it comes along. But if you don't have an accurate number, the whole idea of you doing audit years in order is to start with last year's numbers, and you're starting with a foundation that already sucks, so how do you move forward from there?
Well, we put a disclaimer in at the beginning, balances suck. But to call a state auditor in isn't worth it because there's no record.
I
There's
guess
no
I'm,
record. So if
There's about
there's,
$800,000 or so
yeah, there's no
in
record.
this year.
There's no records. So you could call the state auditor in, and they're going to look at every single piece of paper you have. If there's no paper to look at, there's nothing for them to do. There's no record.
That makes handwriting all the receipts awful handy.
Yeah. Okay, y'all ready for 21?
No.
Sorry.
huh?
You're welcome, sir.
Is it? I think it
If
is.
anybody gets one with my name on it, let me know.
Well,
I think.
Alright. Alright, now we're looking at July 1 of 2020 to June 30 of 21. And go to your page after the table of contents. You failed. Adverse opinion. Okay? Now, this one's different. Management was not able to present financial statements that are free from material misstatements. During the course of our audit, it was discovered that documentation to substantiate expenses, grant revenues, minutes from the board, and capital assets could not be obtained. We added minutes to this one. Okay. Let's jump over to page 4. Okay. Again, we're gonna do the same highlights. Let's look at our payroll liabilities. It's now, if you look at your total in the middle of the page, $492,194. It went up. So it used to be, wait, what was it before? Yeah, it used to be 407, so we added $85,000 to that number.
And that number, I mean, the 85,000 is closer to like what that payroll number
1
should
year's
be
worth.
based on a 1 year deal, you know?
Yeah, so it's about 1 year's worth.
I just still can't, like, so one of the things that we have complained about since we've been here that's tough
Yeah,
is that office is an elected office, right?
correct.
And so we've been very fortunate with Michelle coming on board and helping us, you know, try to, you know, and make a lot of improvements and get computer software
Yeah.
and get all that stuff tied up, right? But when you go from her hire back, right, and even her, like, it's up to the community to vote that individual in, you
Mhm.
know? And then if they haven't had, I mean, let's just give them the benefit of the doubt and say they're the most honest people on earth.
Sure, and they're just not trained.
They're not trained.
Sure.
And they don't have a clue as to what they're doing. I mean,
Correct.
I'm gonna be open and say, when you go to sit on a board seat, you learn something new at dang near every freaking board meeting you sat in, because it's not
Yeah.
like anybody went to school for this stuff, right?
Correct, yeah.
So, like, let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say they're just doing their best with what
Sure.
they've got. You know, I picture somebody along the line took over that office and was never told, hey, this is payroll taxes is a real thing that has to be paid,
Right.
and it just stops getting done.
Well, and
And
that's
it never
fine.
gets picked up again until,
But then where's your payroll records? You still would have payroll records. We're not asking for perfection.
yeah.
We will give lots of adjustments, and we teach you how.
Yeah, you're
to
right,
do it.
they took the payroll taxes out, and then put payroll taxes is coming out.
Right, so they know, if nothing else, they're an employee, and they know taxes are being withheld from their pay. they know it's got to go somewhere. And even if they don't know where to send it, then all you have to do is still maintain records and payroll records and call your previous auditor and say, what do I do? We get lots of new clerks that call our office and say, we don't know what to do. As your
But how in
you
the
know,
world could that previous auditor not see that payroll taxes weren't being paid?
I don't speak ill of the dead, and I don't like speaking ill of colleagues, but Mr. Joe Bob did not do a good audit. His audit report was substandard. It was completely 100% substandard. It did not meet governmental auditing standards. In that government auditing standards from 2010.
Is that why we found that guy?
Yeah, I guess. And so they did not meet the standards for the time that he was writing the report. Government auditing standards change constantly.
So when them audits were getting turned in, like, doesn't somebody at the
Oh,
county
yeah.
or state level?
They
I mean,
do. So they email the auditor and say, fix it.
The auditor.
Yeah, the
So
auditor.
Nobody in this building
No.
will be notified.
No, you'll never know if I turn in an audit report that doesn't meet standards. I, as the auditor, get a letter and say, fix it. And if I don't fix it.
Is there a history there of him receiving such notifications?
I'm not privy to that data. But what happens is, if the state auditor tells you to fix stuff too many times,
Yeah.
then it gets turned into a peer review committee. The peer review committee is a bunch of CPAs that sit on a board that audit CPAs. I get audited every year, right? Or every 3 years, sorry, we get audited every 3. And they get turned into the peer review committee. And the peer review committee audits his audit. Because the state auditor said he made too many mistakes. Well, what people do is, when they're making too many mistakes, they just say, I won't audit anymore, and they step away from auditing. So they don't ever get in trouble. I'm not saying he did that, I'm just saying people do that. But Mr. Joe Bob did not give you quality audits in accordance to governmental auditing standards.
You mean for the $500 we were paying him?
You can't even drive here and back for $500. Yeah. And so, an auditor, I mean, our people come on site, and we dig, and we ask, and we look.
Is that why everybody before you skedaddled?
Absolutely, they were scared. They were scared of your records. Yep, you're a hot mess.
Thank you.
The town of Union City is a hot mess. Absolutely hot mess.
All right, we're on page 4.
Page 4. Okay. All right, so we're saying,
You got any good news?
no. Not tonight. I'm about to make Mr. Police Chief mad, so let me get a ticket. I did that once. I pissed off the police chief in Mountain View, and he wrote me a ticket on the way home. I totally deserved it. I was speeding. Anyways, this is another story for another day. Okay, let's go back to page 4. So we already talked about $492,000 in payroll liabilities, right? Sorry, sir. But see if they go hot negative, $334,000. The police department's insolvent. The police department's bankrupt. Fire department's got $188,000 though. Maybe the fire department can loan the police department some money because the police department is bankrupt, according to the numbers we were given. So remember, can't trust these numbers. There's your saving grace there. You can't trust these numbers. Now, go to page 5. We'll dig more into the police department being bankrupt here in a minute. But if you notice on page 5, we're going to the first column. For some reason, it only took $2.6 million, first column, bottom number, $2.6 million to run your town this year. Prior year, it took $3.7. Some reason, y'all just cut expenses by $1 million in 1 year.
I remember that.
Good, fine, I'm happy with it. But, if you look, last column, fourth number from the bottom, negative $199,000.
That was the year that something got froze.
Everything.
Yeah.
COVID probably, because of COVID, because this is the fall of COVID, fall of 2020, spring of 21. COVID was just finishing up a year later. So yeah, you probably froze everything. Nobody spend, no raises, no nothing. Probably. And means you only lost $200,000. Last column, fourth number from the bottom. Here's that stinky prior period adjustment of $71,542. We have to balance, accountants like to balance, and we couldn't balance, so we had to plug a number to make it balance of $71,000. I can't tell you why. I don't know what happened, don't know where it went, but we were missing $71,000 to make this balance. Okay? Alright. Let's go look at more stuff.
Have you ever thought about teaching first, second grade?
I love it, I would. I used to do Girl Scouts, and I loved my Girl Scouts. I bet you the police officer would like me to talk more about his world, so let's talk about his world. Talk about why he's insolvent. Let's go to page 40. Page 40. Just so we can have Mr. Police Chief know what we're talking about. Let's go to page 40. So we're looking at page 40. The second column in is the police department. The police department supposedly brought in $363,000, but the police department spent $950,000. The police department lost $586,000. Y'all see that?
Mm-hmm.
But luckily, you transferred in $464,000 from the general fund, and your police department only lost $122,000 for the year. Yeah, please.
So that was when, was that the year that we got the, our own dispatch?
May of '21 when we did that.
So there's 2 months of dispatch in here. 2 months. Was there a lot of startup charges?
But we have always, I mean, no offense to the PD, but they have always required money from general to supplement. I would assume every town's that way.
Few, some.
Yeah.
Rush Springs, no.
I mean, they're writing that many citations.
Oh, yeah, you ever see through Rush Springs?
No offense, but I don't want
It's
his
illegal to
department.
police for profit.
Huh?
You can't write.
Yeah, you can't.
No, that's where I'm going, like, I
don't.
don't want him writing tickets to meet this
No,
number.
you don't want to fall under speed traffic law, but I can tell you, Rush Springs makes so much money because they're on that highway, Highway 81. If you speed through there, you know, the speed limits drop super fast and there's a real snicky intersection. They make a lot of money in Rush Springs. And Verdon,
So that should
he
never be
makes
a
a lot of
goal in
money.
any town to use
No.
them to cover their own costs, like, that's absurd.
well, that's not my place to say. My place is to present numbers.
Right.
It's your police department and it's the council's decision on whether he makes money or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not my place to say. My place to say is his department lost a whole bunch of money, and that's why he's insolvent. He spent more than he brought in 2 years in a row, and therefore, according to the numbers, he's bankrupt. He should not have negative equity. Again, can't trust these numbers. Because if you remember from my last report, 600 and something deposits never hit the bank, but are in the numbers. So it may not even be his fault.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that the
Yeah.
tickets he writes, the tickets that are paid, does not match what gets deposited.
I agree with that statement 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Not to mention the $2 million that is owed
You
to
gotta
us.
realize
That-
about
that-
80% of people are on payment plans too, they're
Yeah.
paying $10 here and there,
Yeah.
so.
And that, again, is up to your judge. I don't care. I just care, did the money make it to the bank?
Right.
That's all I care about. I don't
Yeah,
care
but
what
that,
about the
but you
fund.
haven't talked about that number yet, right? So we, okay, go ahead.
Nope. Okay, so that's why he's insolvent on paper, he's bankrupt on paper, is because he's lost money 2 years in a row, of substantial proportions. Again, the numbers can't be trusted. So this is the first thing. Okay, let's go backwards. All right. What do we want to talk about? Let's go to page, let's see, 10. Go page 10.
Yeah.
10. Page 10 is your public works. And this particular year, we're gonna look at this number in the middle of the page, negative $132,000. Your public works lost $132,000. Again, it lost, what was it, just less than $20,000 last year, and now it's losing $132,000. Public works can't lose money. It's supposed to make money. Okay? Again, if these numbers were more current, I would go in way more detail about it, and I will when we get closer, but there's no reason to go over what everything means when it's so old and so wrong, okay? Just keep that in mind. But anything you want me to explain, I'll explain to you. Okay.
And this is still also a big document missing this year, for
Yeah,
this year.
we're gonna get to that.
Okay.
Page 11. Now here's the positive side.
Hey.
I know, and it's great. Page 11. In the middle of the page, there's no pesky prior period adjustment, meaning the beginning cash balance in your public works, the ins and the outs in your ending, all balanced. Yeah, I'm quite excited for that.
Is that when we started signing checks?
Probably. I can't answer that. But it was balanced, and it made me very, very pleased. I didn't have to plug your public works. I only have to plug your government. Okay, so let's see. All right, let's go look at.
Now, in this, did you ever find where the loss was for public works?
No. We don't know why. We don't know why. All right, so let's go page. I'm gonna find the page I want. It's just so much in here. 24. You bought some equipment and you bought some land. So page 24 talks about your major purchases, and we're in that additions column.
36,000, we paid 20,000 for that piece of land.
Not according to the records we were given, 36.
Why does 20 stick in my mind and not 36?
Did you have to pay to clear it?
I mean, we would pay closing costs, but it was not $16,000.
The property. You bought the property from AmeriGas, and then the Eagle.
Yeah, we bought both.
Amerigas, I forgot about that one.
There you go.
Okay.
Awesome. So there you go.
So technically, we didn't even own the land the water tower was on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. You guys bought some stuff. Okay. Let's go look. I'm trying to decide what's good data. Let's go. Golly, some of this stuff is just, gosh, so old.
Can you provide a list to Michelle, David, and Adam for, of everything that should be considered as an asset and tracked, so we can implement an asset tracking program?
I can tell you what we've got record of, yeah, but I can't guarantee that it's correct.
Well,
But it's a start point.
I guess I'm generalizing. I mean, do you get all the way down to weed eaters, or do you get, I mean,
No.
I mean, huh?
You do it
You
Canadian
can if you
County.
want to. It's called,
Yeah.
so,
I mean, is there a dollar amount, like, let's say, any
Generators.
object or item over the price of, let's say, $100 needs to be itemized, or?
that's where the capitalization policy comes into play that you guys don't have.
Yeah, and I'm admitting right now, that's never been implemented.
You
I've never
have,
seen that since I've been here.
it's your decision as the council to tell Michelle what to track. This is, she
I
can't,
know,
so
and
you
we're,
have
and we're
to
going to
say.
do that. What I'm
Yeah.
asking is like,
Give it a guidance.
do you have any guidelines, like, where do towns set that amount? Anything over, any item over $100, any item over $200, I mean, you're saying all the way down to weed eaters.
Anything, any piece of equipment we have in Canadian County has a number on it.
There you go.
It's a bar.
And,
Yeah.
nope, it's,
No.
say 302-123, and we have bunches of them. Anytime there's a dollar spent on any of it, it goes on that piece of equipment, it's recorded.
But you're using the same number on every piece of equipment, and that's tied to a book?
Yeah.
No, it's a different
No,
number.
different number.
It's
Different
like-
number.
it's like a serial
Okay,
number.
like a serial number on every one.
Right.
And how are y'all attaching that serial number?
It's stickers.
Stickers.
Just stickers, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Stickers, barcodes, you can get stickers that when you take them off, they fall apart, so you can't just move it from one piece of equipment to another because
Okay.
it's sticky, it falls apart.
There you go.
Yeah, you could do,
Can either one, I don't know if y'all would be able to know who the person is that, you know, that they order that stuff for the stickers and that
You can
stuff
talk to
from?
the secretary up there at our shop and they can tell you how to do it.
Okay.
and you want, so, if you're gonna go with sticker mentality, then you want it where it's pre-numbered by the manufacturer, not by Michelle, right? So then you can see a number missing, right? But you, the council, decides. I have some towns that are like, $5,000 is our minimum. If it's less than $5,000, we're not tracking it, we're not keeping track of it. You know, generators walk away, right? But then I have other places that as low as $100. It's up to you, the council, to make that decision. It's really what level of detail do you want and what level of detail you have time to do.
Okay, so a weed eater wears out, how do y'all remove that from that asset list?
It's salvage, more or less is what we do, and they have a system to take it out of that. And you show that it's salvage.
Yeah.
And you just throw it away. I mean, it's not that you couldn't,
And-
somebody probably could say, well, salvage and put it in their back.
And
If
for
they
instance,
wanted to, but there's more than one person that.
To validate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
And I mean, we know from
and
fuel.
it sounds to me like in that case, like, there would need to be a city ordinance written around that, is that correct? Or like
no,
something-
it's a
It's just
capital,
a policy.
it's a policy.
It's just a policy that we need to put in place.
Yeah,
To do that,
to
okay.
tell Michelle how to keep track of stuff in her office. It's a policy. Yeah. Okay. All right, so now we're to page 30 with the letter, which again is the same letter about your processes, internal controls, significant deficiencies, okay? Now, because this is their second year of audit, we have elevated those significant deficiencies, those ones that were isolated problems, we've now elevated them to material weakness, because they went unnoticed for a whole year with no attempt to correct them. So obviously, there's more than just an isolated area that's a problem. We've decided now it's a bigger problem because it's not a one-off. There you go, perfect. So you got a problem in your system, so now everything is what we consider a material weakness, okay? And it's the same issues. Number one, on page 32. We already talked about the capitalization policy. We just talked about it again.
Yeah, that's gonna be on every one of them.
Yep. And then we already talked about, number 2, but here's the problem. The bank reconciliations did not improve. That's number 2. But we couldn't figure out an exact amount that it changed in the negative. Meaning, I told you originally that there was, 49,000 here and 60-something thousand here. The numbers got so bad, we couldn't tell you what was previous problems and what was new problems. So how does that happen? Let me explain to you. When you have a bank reconciliation, we're looking at dates of deposits and amounts of deposits. On checks, we're going by check number, check date, and check amount. And that's why you can kind of see that check 101 didn't clear, check 105 cleared, right? So we're tracking it like that. And the deposits we're tracking by dates and amounts. Logical, right? And you should be able to see the same deposit dates and amounts that were outstanding on June 30 either clear in the new year or still be on that list, right? They either clear or they're still on the list. Same with the outstanding checks, meaning if they were outstanding on June 30 of 2020, they either cleared or they're still outstanding. So we thought, well, maybe they were voided. So we looked into the accounting program to see if maybe that outstanding deposit was voided. That's why it never cleared the bank, and that's why it's not on this ending list. Same with the checks that were missing. Did they get voided? They were here, they did not clear, they're not in the accounting system as a void, and they're not on the list. So what happened to them? When you void something in Jack Brown's program, it makes a mark. It makes an entry. You can see it's voided. when it's deleted from the system, it evaporates.
His software didn't, all of my software that work, when I sign in, I have a sign-in name, an email, I have, you know, it's a 7 or 8 digit number at the side of that.
Correct.
Anything I do within our softwares, it's tracking.
Sure.
If I delete an invoice, if I delete those types of things, somebody printing a report a year from now can look and pull a report of deleted invoices for our location.
Correct.
And they can see who it was that was signed in at the time.
It's a
And that-
flaw
and-
in Jack's system.
And Jack didn't have that, this Jack system didn't have that.
Right. We can just see that it's no longer in the system. It's deleted.
And you're referring to checks that were written to this community.
Those outstanding deposits that I mentioned in this last year's report that I talked to you about.
Jack Systems payroll, wouldn't that be through QuickBooks?
No, not Jack's system. He wrote this program himself. Jack Brown wrote the program called GFI or something like that. GHS. Yeah.
Was it GSS? Yes, GHS is the selection.
Oh, that's
right. By contract.
Yeah, so these $62,000 of outstanding deposits that never cleared the bank, and this $42,000 of checks that were signed and in your accounting program that never cleared the bank. There's so much disappearance that we couldn't tell you what the dollar amount of outstanding checks and deposits were still there, because they just disappeared. Now, your theory of when you log in, you can see who did it, absolutely, but you gotta not share logins.
Who's sharing logins? Everyone was sharing the same login?
I can't say that for sure, but I can tell you there wasn't a whole bunch of different logins back then. So, with that being said, we can't tell you how much undeposited money.
So is this
There.
another policy that needs, again, I only have my own experiences to tie back to. So, we have policy written amongst our company that if I give you my sign-in information, that I can be terminated on the spot for such thing. Just by simply, if I leave a computer open while signed in and leave an office and a member of upper management walks in and sees a computer left alone, signed in, that's probable cause for immediate termination if they so choose.
Y'all can do that.
But
Y'all
is
can
there
create,
policies around that
you
as well?
totally can create accounting policies relating to that.
So
Or
right
IT
now,
policies.
on all of our software, none of you guys are sharing any sign-in information, right? Each of you have your own sign-in stuff. And nobody's in trouble, this is just a question of,
That's not necessarily true. The water department actually has one login.
There you go.
Only one on water.
and so, which software is this?
That's the Jack.
The Jack, okay, yeah.
Citation five.
And that's the one we're getting rid of, because he's done.
Yeah, he's
Break
retired.
Jack down.
Yeah.
Huh?
So maybe we need to break old Jack down.
Jack and Jim, Bo and Bob.
You don't wanna be sad. He said
So- So, yeah,
No.
that's a loose thing until that gets tied up.
You're welcome. Yeah, so, again, we don't know what the net effect is of these bad bank reconciliations, but because the fact it got worse, it turned it into a material weakness. Okay. All right, page 33, number 3. Check signatures. Yeah, it's still bad. Okay. Let's go to number 4, because now we're into the fun stuff. Okay, grants. Lack of documentation is number 4. Documentation regarding grants, capital assets, expense testing, minutes, citations, and payroll could not be located in the grant department. The town received coronavirus relief CARES Act money of $166,262. However, no documents could be located to substantiate grant revenues or expenditures. Your records were not kept up. Capital assets, we've already talked about. No listing of capital assets was properly maintained by the town, we know that. Minutes, for the municipal authority, only 1 month could be located. Only 1 month of minutes could be located. Now keep in mind, you're supposed to keep your minutes for a very long time, and we could only find 1 month. Payroll liability. I have to read this real fast. Okay, the town could not find the third quarter of 2020 and, let me read this again. 941, documentation cannot be located. Oh, okay. For the government fund, the third quarter 2020 report could not be found. Down the other three, couldn't find one. In the municipal authority side, the public works side, we couldn't find third and fourth quarter of 2020, but we could find the 21. So things are getting better. We can find first and second quarter report for 2021. Yay! Documentation! We love documentation!
At this time, we're still Elaine keeping track of all this.
Okay, but it's there, it exists. Okay, expenses. Okay, general fund. Now we can start testing some things, right? We found some expenses. Okay, we tested 24 transactions in the general fund. 4 transactions did not have any documentation at all. 14 were not signed by the purchasing officer for approval. One transaction was approved but did not have an invoice. And 1 transaction had an invoice but no approved. So, of the 24 situations, 20 of the 24 did not meet standards. 4 passed. That's how you can read that. 4 passed.
You know what the dollar amount was?
No. No. On the municipal authority side, we tested 35. 8 transactions did not have, of the 35 transactions, 8 did not have any documentation at all. 19 were not signed by the purchasing officer for approval. 7 were not signed by either the purchasing officer or the finance officer. And 2 had an approved purchase order but did not have an invoice. So y'all are just paying bills willy-nilly without documentation or approval.
So,
Mm-hmm.
at that point in time, something that we've instituted since
Okay.
is we see every bill,
Good.
every single bill.
Good.
As a matter of fact, I caught one a few weeks ago that was a double bill,
Good.
you know,
Good.
and so we're going over each and every one, so as we progress forward, this should get better. But
Yeah.
my question
It
is,
should start fixing itself around the 2022, 2023
Yeah.
mark.
We're hoping.
my question is, you said it's not signed either by the purchasing officer or the finance officer.
Correct.
Who is the purchasing officer?
I mean, who are you calling the purchasing officer?
We're going by the line on the purchase order that says purchasing officer. We just want a signature on that line.
The person who creates the purchase order
There you go.
is considered the purchasing officer.
And who's
they
the
are
finance
the
officer?
That would be like you, when I say I need your approval,
Okay.
There you go. It's lines on your purchase order.
Okay.
We don't know who the people were back then. We just know the lines were blank.
And I know that we had signature stamps back then also that were running rampant.
I didn't even give y'all a finding for that, cause
I didn't even know those existed
they're
until.
horrible.
Like, what?
Yeah, if you have a signature stamp, you should carry it in your pocket and never leave it in the office. Seriously. It's horrible. Okay, the police department, we tested 30. 8 did not have any documentation at all. 6 were not approved. 10 were not signed by anybody. 1 had an invoice but no purchase order. Fire department, 25 were tested. 5 did not have any documentation at all. 18 were not signed by the purchasing officer. 1 transaction had an approved purchase order but did not have an invoice. The 1 transaction had an invoice but no approved purchase order. Street and alley, 2 out of 4 were not approved. Fourth fund, best fund, that must be your 4th of July party. Okay, we tested 3, all 3 of them were not good. 1 didn't have anything and 2 were not approved. So, but we found the stuff. Hey!
I guess when I look at like fourth best fund,
That's new,
huh?
that's new,
Yeah, so,
It's not too, I don't know what you consider new.
like in the last, just one.
Yeah, I mean, it was here, it seems like it was here when I got here, I don't know. That fund was already here when I got here, anyway. But the only one we ever approve as a board, and that is the purchase of the fireworks themselves. Like, what else is getting purchased from that account?
back then, I don't know, I can tell you, it's on page, let's look.
Is it really,
It's $14,000 of stuff on page 40.
Fireworks are usually 8.
yeah,
There you go.
that's why I'm questioning.
Are you doing porta potties?
No, nothing, it's just fireworks only.
Well, I can't answer that.
Well, they do them, Jumping.
Well, we pay for
you know, like the jumping things for the kids,
stuff like
the,
that.
There you go.
But why,
DJ.
but why is, I mean,
If a DJ, I'm gonna DJ.
but y'all, I mean, assuming y'all get quotes for all of those things, and that's not, I mean, if it's under a certain amount, you don't have to get a board approval for those things?
Your
well,
policy,
all she come to you, I don't know.
For free.
your policy
Yeah,
doesn't
free.
say how, what's the dollar
Donation.
amount that they have to come to you. There's state statute regarding that,
Yeah.
but 14,000 is under state statute. But you, the council, can write a policy on what's the dollar amount that y'all have to approve.
Let's make that policy.
You can make that policy,
I
your,
think it should be
your
three, you
town.
can write them all down.
Yeah, he's gonna make a note.
We're
Okay,
past, we're past two, that's how
You
I'm,
ready?
I'm like, memorize.
y'all ready for citations?
No, it's the same as every, go ahead.
We tested 563 citations, which included 977 payments, so we basically were looking for 977
Deposits.
deposits. 66 of the citations had no documentation. We don't know if they were forgiven, or written off, or people making payments. 66 of the 563 had nothing. We don't know what happened to them. 16 of the payments, 16 of the 977 payments could not be traced to deposit. See, it got better. 105 payments were not tracked on the citation, meaning the money made it to the bank, but y'all didn't credit the naughty person that had the ticket. Does that make sense?
So that wouldn't create a false warrant?
Yeah, it would. I don't know, I'm not a police officer.
It depends.
Yeah?
Is that when we switched?
System.
Yeah,
Maybe.
so it was probably annotated in one system and not the other. We switched court reporting systems.
There you go. We don't know if it results in a warrant, that's not our places
Well, it's a concern for me, because I don't want people getting, I mean, obviously you don't either, I'm just saying, we don't
Yeah.
want people getting false
Right.
warrants.
No. 267 of the payments did not have a receipt for payment. So we found the money in the bank, but we can't find where it was receipted. Does that make sense? So 266 payments made it to the bank, but y'all didn't create a paper trail on it. You didn't give the client a receipt for their payment. So it got better.
Yeah, they were all
They were
handwritten
all
back then.
handwritten back
Yeah.
then.
I remember like they, I mean, I don't even, like, if I drop a check off, they ask if I want a receipt, and I always tell them, I mean, because it's a check, I'm not concerned with receiving a receipt, because I got my
They still should
record.
have received it.
Yeah,
Back then, everything should have
Mhm.
been.
yeah,
Everything should have been received.
And that's the
So,
reason we fought so hard.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we had a lot of pushback for moving that to electronics, but it
Yeah.
had to be done.
but it got better. The money hit the bank, except for 16 of it. Much better. Much better. Okay. All right, page 35 is.
I got one more quick question, Paul.
Sure.
Have y'all ever fielded any complaints, or do you know of any complaints, Adam, of someone who gets a warrant for their arrest and then they are able to prove that they've paid? Has anything like that ever happened recently? No.
A lot of what we've been dealing with is our collection companies sending letters to the wrong addresses right now. Cause they decided to do some skip tracing and failed at it, but nothing pertaining to that.
Okay.
There you go. Good. Awesome. Okay, page 35, we're almost done, guys. Number 5 is the same situation, late fees and cutoff weren't being, reported correctly. And number 6, same thing with the meter deposit, we couldn't substantiate what the meter deposit amount's supposed to be, so there's no records. And same thing on page 36, payroll liabilities, just got bigger. So same stuff. Same stuff. Now, on this one, I'm gonna point this out because I'm hoping it's fixed. Let's go look at page 37. You guys fall under the Municipal Budget Act. And under the Municipal Budget Act, you guys are required by law to have a budget. And during this year and the previous report, y'all didn't have a budget that we could be found. And so I'm hoping y'all have a budget now. It's required.
Yeah, we have one, but I mean, they've always approved budgets. So what do you mean by we don't have a copy of it?
Could not be provided.
Even by the county? Cause that's submitted to the county, correct?
Could not get it for these 2 years. Now, we didn't give you a finding for it. We didn't give you a finding for it.
Well, I mean, if you need that, or if that helps in any way,
We're not gonna open these back up, but for the one that we just started, yeah, we should have it. Cause Michelle's records are so much better for 22. Oh God, so much better. Yeah, we're already happy. But I'm telling you this, that I know y'all done a budget, cause I participated in some of your meetings, but my comment is, review your budget and make sure that you don't need to make changes. Because in the current year, and we're going off the topic a little bit, because this is 21, the rules were different. In 25, which is the year we're in, if you exceed your budget in the expense category, right, then it's a finding in your report, even if everything else was perfect. Okay, that's one reason why I'm bringing this up. So, you need to revise your budget.
Our police, yeah, and so I've even asked Tom this on a handful of occasions, because it was brought up, maybe y'all can help me if it was a previous auditor or someone brought up, and maybe it was you, I'm horrible. When we make a change or approve something, like let's say Adam comes to us and let's say, you know, he had it in budget for some police vehicles, this type of stuff. If he came tomorrow and said, we wanna buy 4 more police cars, or we need to buy 4 more police cars, that would exceed that budgetary item in there. And so in order for Adam to do that, like, I feel like in the past, we would approve for such and such purposes, your fire truck, for instance, that we just approved not too long ago. We approve that, but there's never like an adjustment to that budgetary line, and we don't put it as a line item on our next agenda to modify that budget. And
exactly where I'm
so,
headed.
I can't think of a single time where we've put it on the agenda to adjust the budgetary line items to do that. And we were told that, and I've even asked Tom as we were leaving, like, hey, Tom, shouldn't that be a thing? And then, you know, I would never get necessarily a clear answer. You check on it, and then nobody would ever follow up on it, but.
Well, so I'm giving y'all a warning, giving y'all a heads up. If you want.
David, we need a blind budget on that fire truck.
You need to modify your budget before the end of the year. So Michelle needs to run some reports, a budget to actual comparison, and you need to adjust your budget to match what you spent.
So, Adam, on your budgetary lines, throughout the year, monthly or quarterly, are you adding up what you've spent within those and keeping track of that?
There you go.
And then if you have any, I guess, letting all department heads know if there's any of that that's gonna go over, we're gonna have to adjust that line item. It needs to be an actual line on the agenda to do that, to make sure that we're complying to that.
Correct, and that's exactly why I brought it up, is that you don't want the expenses to exceed your budget for 2025, the year that you're in.
Does that count, what's the word, when you got money before, what's the word I'm trying to say?
Like surplus, like carryover?
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as the budget, whatever the council sets aside for your department's expenses, you can't exceed your department's expenses. If you do, they need to fix your budget, or you're gonna get a finding in your report.
Like for instance, the fire truck, we saved several years, you know, with exceed, so we just need to.
Make sure it's line items that you can spend right
Yeah,
now.
and I said it means the budget that night, but we, okay.
Yep.
So, can you add on the next agenda for us to adjust that budget line on his budget? So we're gonna need to pull his budget back up, pick the category that applies to him, we will have to adjust that category. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head, because it was a larger purchase, but it's just one example of any of those types of changes that we make that we're gonna have to do.
Exactly. Yeah, just fix your budget. So that's pretty much your report in a nutshell. Y'all failed. Sorry. Any questions about 20 or 21? No? Okay. Sorry for the bad news, guys.
We knew it was coming.
Yep. Now,
My biggest concern right now is obviously for all of us is the payroll tax situation, because we don't know when it stops getting paid, and we don't know what that total amount is, and at what point, so we don't have to do anything to accept these or nothing, I mean, obviously this is.
well, you're gonna have to vote.
Okay,
on the
and we will
agenda.
have to vote to, okay, so we
Yeah.
accept these as what they are,
Mhm.
and then you file them
With the state auditor's office.
with the state auditor's office,
Correct.
and then the IRS, I'm assuming very quickly, and there's gonna be a penalty and interest tied to those amounts. Yeah.
So the IRS should start sending you letters. And have they? They're right here, okay.
I've been doing.
Can I dig in?
Yep, absolutely. I've been
Should they
getting
have been
checks
sending
back,
letters all
as well as.
And do we need to write a policy that says that anytime our employees, the town's employees receive,
Just take it out, it's easier to, yeah, it's really.
when the town employees receive, letters from the IRS, that they are to turn those letters over to you?
No, I'm not an IRS auditor.
No, I know you're not an IRS auditor, but do you don't need to, like, I'm just, like, in my personal life as a CPA, like, I have, my CPA has power of attorney, so anytime if I was to receive something from the IRS or the state, then he receives the same thing.
I can do that, but I don't want to, because then it impairs my independence,
Okay.
and then I
I'm
can't be
trying to
your
figure out how to
auditor.
create a checks and balance to keep an employee that works here from just trashing an important letter, or an important fine, or an important anything, even if it's by mistake.
I think it just needs to be sent to the vice mayor.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Terrible idea.
I see what you're saying, Chief, but
There's
Wasn't
not,
that happening?
That wouldn't.
Well, but that's why, in my
Wasn't that
humble
happening
opinion,
with the
that letter should be sent to 2 addresses.
but with you having such a large payroll tax problem,
Mhm.
if I'm a part of cleaning that up, then I am no longer independent, and I can no longer be your auditor.
Yeah, so, again,
So
help,
I can't.
how,
Now, I
I mean,
can't as an individual, if I wasn't your auditor, hot diggity dog, you know I would be. As a consultant, I can be a
but
part of that.
can we contact the IRS and or the state?
Well, so
and-
you have an
and have them, like, for instance, like, each time there's an elected mayor, that not only does the town receive one, but the mayor receives one.
Yeah, you can. You can have the power of attorney can be done to the mayor. So you received this letter back in June from the IRS, and IRS says, we received a response to our request for information. So the IRS said, hey, taxpayer, tell me about all these periods. It's third quarter 2020, fourth quarter 21, all of 22, all of 23. Hey,
And,
town, we want more data. And so the IRS is saying, we don't have these forms, guys. So,
and Michelle, these are all the ones that you've received since
Yeah,
this is the first time
I
I've ever seen
document a
them.
lot, yeah.
yeah, for documentation's great. So IRS wrote you a letter, you were actually signed to a revenue agent, and the IRS said, we have this money on account, but we have no reports. What's going on?
Yeah, which means she's paid payroll taxes, and
It means that somebody paid payroll taxes, but IRS doesn't know if the payroll taxes were paid correctly or incorrectly.
and who, what years are these?
That would have been a lane year. Yeah.
It's third quarter 2020, fourth quarter 21, all of 22, and all of 23. Nobody turned in reports.
So-
Yeah, and we cut that, yeah. She'll, if you keep going.
No, I'm sorry.
They did
Huh?
find mine, they
Huh?
did find mine,
They did.
and what happened, so where I've written in pink, there's different colors on it,
Yeah.
so I could document.
Right.
So the problem is, Keith, is that I've gone back and corrected what she couldn't find. The problem is they had to be done then for it to count.
Right.
Me going back and fixing it only helps us find.
But I'm confused. So what you have in your hand
Mhm.
is a year that, or a period of time when Elaine was handling this, and you're saying that those amounts were paid into payroll,
Yeah.
but there was no,
The problem is too, is that it's not the right amount that
Correct.
were paid.
So IRS sent this letter and
Okay.
said, hey, town of Union City, we have this money, but we don't know if it's right or wrong. We don't know if it's enough or too much or not enough. Tell us, because you didn't turn in your reports. So these are the reports that IRS is missing. This is the money they had on account. So
when you say
Michelle-
on account, like, this is the money that's paid for September,
So
they're not
here's what
paid for
happened.
December.
You can
So-
go on a portal, which is where they ended up finding mine, because I was submitting on a portal, but Elaine didn't submit on a portal. So
But,
they were
but, but,
confused.
but based on
as
this,
to-
that she was making payroll payments, okay?
Yes, but look, let me just keep showing you. So here's, so in this particular period, when Michelle filed the report matched the payments, so there's no additional payments due.
Oh,
But
okay.
as you go down, Michelle went in and made all the reports, or found them, and turned them in, and here's how much is owed.
So
in lieu.
Elaine had been receiving these letters, or someone within this.
Yes,
We don't know if Elaine received them, but
Oh,
they were
okay.
being mailed to the PO box.
They were mailing these right here, you didn't file your tax return letters. this is what was being mailed and ignored.
Yeah, which, again, this is why I'm.
And you won't be very late, and they'll mail it to you too.
Well, I mean, and I know about this, from going, my wife and I were very blessed to go through an IRS audit, and and what's frustrating about, again, I'm trying to figure out how do I protect this town, and what policy do I put in place, or how do we change things, and I don't say I as the board. Because, okay, I've been serving on this board now I'm getting close to end of my 5th year.
Yeah.
And I've never seen this letter. This was never presented to anybody in this board, any of this stuff. So when employees are withholding information from the board,
Yeah.
right, and we're ultimately the ones that are responsible for that, okay, then there has to be some kind of way
Well, one
that
of the
we
things.
can either have a second letter mailed to a second individual and/or.
Well, as one of the things that we do as an auditor is we come in and we ask for these reports, and that's what I just told you in this report. They didn't exist, nobody can find them. If you're current on your audit, your auditor's looking at them every year, and if you keep in mind,
Unless you're that guy.
unless you're that guy, but keep in mind how quickly your audit is supposed to happen. Year ends June 30th. You have 6 months to have your audit done and turned in. 6 months. So we're looking at it pretty darn fresh. So even if the letters came in, we're asking them. And we're looking for these reports, and we're doing the math ourselves to see if the payroll records, the payroll reports, the payroll deposits, is all three match. We're doing that within 3 to 4 months of the due date. So they could hide the letter, fine. We're gonna recalculate it if your audits are timely. And we're already gonna tell you, nope, you got a problem. The situation in your place is that your previous auditor, the gap between your previous auditor and us was so long that stuff was hidden. Going forward, if she messes up, it's gonna be discovered within 3 to 6 months of her messing up.
Okay.
Yeah, and it takes IRS about 3 to 6 months to realize there's a problem.
Yeah. And
So I
I'm sorry
don't
for
think
being
it's-
elementary on this,
No,
I'm just trying to see,
you're
like, how do we, I mean,
But it-
let's say Michelle decides to quit on us tomorrow and a new person takes over, I mean, it's, you know.
Yeah, well, let me just kind of tell you this number, guys, that she calculated. When she turned in all the reports, minus the payments that were on account versus what was filed, this balance, Michelle calculated that just for these years, the town owes $306,000
Before penalties.
before
Before
penalties.
penalties and interest, yeah.
And this is a valid number.
So is that a balance that covers everything in this stack?
It
Can I just know what
covers
again?
these periods right there,
So,
these months, those
but that amount doesn't match what you have.
And
No,
what I
'cause
found
that's
is
2023.
that, as
Oh.
I did that, they've also come back with that other pile of checks that I have,
Okay.
because they realized that when I was doing it, I was paying the extra because I didn't realize Elaine didn't use the portal. That's where the confusion came in.
Mhm.
She did not wanna progress forward when they did.
Right.
She did it on a piece of paper and wrote a check. And so I had to go back in and put them in the portal.
Yeah, and I'm seeing that.
Yeah, and so that page you're looking at ended up not being correct, and they started sending me funds back
So these are the
because it
amounts
was.
that she paid, and this is what was short.
That's
Correct.
per the report.
Yeah, per the
Right.
report, okay.
Right,
For the
and then
report.
once I submitted everything to the portal, all of that you're seeing is all that I've submitted from 2019 up to,
Mhm.
not not my new ones, that's in a completely different area. That's all the stuff that's been fixed.
Yeah,
The stuff that doesn't need fixed is not in that file.
right.
Yeah, I have all of, I make a copy of all the
Mhm.
checks, everything.
Basically, so what she's saying in layman's term is, one area had deposits, another area had deposits, and the reports were missing. So IRS only knew about this area, and the reports were missing, and Michelle had to go in there and say, hey, there's a whole bunch of deposits here,
And I'm assuming,
they
I mean,
belong
I
in
mean,
all these different places.
yeah, I know when I've battled them, like, you'll get letters, I mean, sometimes weekly, right?
Yeah.
And so, all of those letters, we just don't even know where they were going to. They were going to a post office box. Because they start warning you, I mean,
Oh, they warn you.
yeah.
Oh, they do, they
You
tell
test
you
them,
what
what
to
is
do.
it?
You what it says,
Yeah,
like, dude.
you test them too.
But as I went along, I paid, so we weren't in trouble with the IRS. If you're showing good faith and you're paying,
Yeah.
they don't penalize you as harshly.
Right,
So I was going ahead and paying them, and now they're reimbursing.
because they finally count their deposit.
Yeah.
Were there
Now, I know you're-
Social Security, Medicare withholdings, right?
So,
And,
I know-
OESC and federal unemployment tax.
My next question is gonna include you a little bit.
Sure.
So, I was taught by a very smart, wealthy man one time who married a CPA. He said he wished he would have married a CPA attorney and not a CPA. And the reasoning behind that is because a CPA is more likely to, fold and write a check to the IRS and move on in the full amount and comply. An IRS attorney will fight them tooth and nail and negotiate that price down to,
Sure.
you know.
That could be,
So
yeah,
my
everybody's
question
different.
is, does the town of Union City need a CPA attorney coming up? How do we
Not
move
until the
forward?
dust settles and you figure out the amount.
And then we need to look at one, correct, or no?
Then you need to have an executive meeting with your attorney and no public present and your auditor not present. And you need to have a conversation on what are you on the hook for?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you really are on the hook for 306-ish,
Mm-hmm.
those are what we call federal deposits, meaning it's trust funds.
Mhm.
It ain't your money. So you as the council could be liable for trust fund penalties.
Right, which we're aware of now.
Correct, correct. So, it's hopefully the town has the money to pay it, you keep the IRS auditors happy, right? Which sounds like Michelle's doing, 'cause she gets a bill, she pays it, and then she's like, they'll figure out where everything's at later. But those trust fund penalties could be attached to you personally, and that's when you would want to seek legal advice in an executive session environment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, your office offers that or no?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I'm sure we could probably find somebody if
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah. So I would wait until the IRS threatens that, but right now Michelle's cooperating
I'm not, I mean,
so
as
well.
a general rule, I'm not concerned with the fact that,
Mm-mm.
I mean, I've sat in enough meetings with the group that I've been a part of to know that, like, there was no purposeful mischief of any kind going on. And we got plenty of proof to, you know, in my opinion, to prove that we tried going down the road of hiring auditors more times than we'd like to admit. We've hired them, they've left, we paid them, they've left, I mean, it's been a total nightmare. I think any reasonable auditor is gonna work and negotiate, but my
Yeah.
biggest thing at this point is how to save the taxpayers the most money, right, so.
Well, so once the IRS attaches the tax to you, then you can negotiate for interest and penalties. And they have, in some of those notices, they have waived some interest and penalties. Michelle's been successful at getting some of that waived, just on her own. But when it gets to the point that the interest and penalties are as much as the tax, then yes, I recommend.
From the
But
time-
keep in mind, a CPA attorney's going to charge you a percentage. So if you owe the government $600,000, their fee is going to be $60,000 to $120,000. 10 to 20% of your
10
balance
to
due.
20%, gee.
Yeah, and they can get away with it because they're operating under attorney laws and not CPA laws.
Yeah. And they're,
And so-
but unless they're gonna save you that much, it's not worth hiring.
That's your choice to decide, yeah. Attorneys can do a percentage of the situation, accountants can't. So, yeah. So, I say let Michelle keep working on, 'cause she's being successful.
So,
There's
will
proof
the
there.
IRS want to wait until all of this is caught up before,
Yeah.
or will they start right away on just what's being filed?
They're charging you right away,
Yeah.
because that's the whole file folder of it. But they cannot make an offer on penalties and interest until everything is filed and everything's paid.
Okay.
All the
When you say
taxes
make
are
an offer,
paid.
we can't negotiate.
You can't
Yeah.
negotiate, you can't
Until-
negotiate quarter on quarter, you have to
And
have
now
the
that
whole
you're this far,
picture.
and what do you think the timeline is on you finishing these final years?
We want you to.
No doubt.
And I'm-
I feel you.
I mean, we have been in your space so much the last 2 weeks to get these done. We really would like to have 22, 23, and 24 done before June 30. Because I just got contracted by the town of Hollis and they're backlogged on their audits. So we really have other work to do.
Some more good news.
We want you done. So we'd like to have you fully
How
caught
many
up at the
towns
end of the
don't
year.
have a problem?
Oh, I got quite a few, I got about 50. They have problems, but they don't anymore. We keep them caught up. We got them all cleaned up. Yeah,
Well, I'm gratefully thankful, I mean, we've come a long ways, I just,
you've done,
this has been sure frustrating. So the action items that we need to take away from this, Bob, we have to
If
create
there
a
was
policy
an approval
around,
thing, yeah.
we need to write a policy around tracking assets, policy on minimum that needs approved, and a policy on accounting policy.
Mhm. Yep. Sure do.
Okay. Are you gonna,
The first we have to
yeah,
Thank you.
approve it, not this.
Yep,
Yes,
yep,
my next question,
sure.
at any point did your auditors ask for the VIN numbers and all the stuff for accounting for the stuff that we've purchased?
We weren't given a list, there was not a list to be had of what you had back in the day, so no. Even if we were given a crappy list, then we would've.
Yeah.
But we didn't, there was no list to be had of what you had back in this time frame. Yeah, but one of the things that we love doing is actually looking at the equipment to verify it
We do that every
didn't
year.
sprout legs. Yeah.
Yep.
Cause it's amazing. I can tell you of a situation in the town of Apache, is they spent a lot of money on firearms, and there's not a single firearm in that police department. They grow legs, and we love checking things. Backhoes were missing, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, so we love checking that data.
pretty profitable work for a town.
You can.
Lucrative.
You can.
Jeez.
Alright.
Consideration possible approval of now amendment revision of the acceptance of the 2020 and 2021 audits for Town of Union City Municipal Authority conducted by Fire and Associates. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we approve them, or accept them, sorry.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion approved.
Alright, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, ma'am.
So much.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good evening.
Keep at it, don't give up.
Bye-bye.
Well,
Don't give up on us.
I won't, we'll be back.
Bob, come so you can come back in.
Huh?
If the gentleman that wants to just give,
Oh,
he was in his car.
I'm sorry, yeah, what line item is he?
Is Radio Road.
Oh, there it is, okay, consideration.
You want me to go grab him?
Yeah, I can, you can.
Yeah, I told him.
Okay.
Thank you.
Huh?
This is the first one, right?
Yeah. You swallow all that?
We're trying, man.
We've been waiting for that for
well,
3 years.
I can tell you that, yeah, not to come with some mistakes, and so I just gotta come with $2,000. Not
Oh, I
including
had-
taxes where he was figuring on the net, not the road.
Yes, my wife and I,
We were down the county.
we had the same problem, we were 3 years in with a Spectrum Financial name of company that handled all our books for us. Come to find out that he did everything. I had to transfer all of it, cost $3 grand to get it transferred to different people. And we spent $9 grand finding out that approving it.
I see it, I got little kids, I get it.
I was in my late 20s, had a baby like it was.
Alright. 8B, variance request for 5030 South Radio Road.
You're in trouble.
So, this gentleman purchased a piece of property, the planning committee kinda went over it, and we were stuck at a spot that we didn't have a great answer. We have someone that is selling property, and they are selling it, I don't know how you say it, the wrong way, I don't know.
Yeah, they put it unrestricted, but
Yes.
quite a few.
So it's supposed to be unrestricted, and it is very, very, very restricted. Can you explain kinda what the variance is for?
It's to allow him, at this time, there is an old farmhouse that is unlivable, that it really needs condemned and demoed. If he tears that house down, he can't put anything else back in its place, in its current zoning, without either, getting a variance or apply to rezone the property.
So this is at Jensen Road,
No,
No,
this
it's
is
a radio.
radio,
radio and what?
Almost at
44 to
44,
yeah, 44.
it's almost at a half mile.
It's a 1 acre tract, it's all agricultural land.
Welcome to our world, Dutchie.
Huh?
We get calls
Oh,
all the time,
yeah,
with
that-
numbers
it didn't
and
take me anywhere close.
emergency, and there ain't no,
No, there's nothing up there.
radio trouble.
Unfortunately, if he demos the house, he can't do anything with the land.
Okay, so 44th, yeah, I'm at 44th, or in radio, which direction do I go?
Goes south.
Go south, how far?
About half a mile.
Not quite a half a mile. It's a little old farmhouse on the east side, right next to an agricultural piece of property that's just nothing but junk. In Taylor Farm. I'm being honest. I'm being honest.
You know it?
Huh?
He had a big old bunch of nothing back there about 10 years ago or longer.
Real ones?
Yeah, he's had everything out there.
You name it, it's out there, llamas, emus, everything else.
Okay, so you have bought this piece of property, this 1 acre, correct? Okay, now that I know where it's at, catch it again.
Okay,
So-
whatever they.
The planning commission couldn't decide what was best to do. They first wanted me to grant him a demo permit when he tear the house down. I said, but stop, if he demos the house, he can't do anything. He can't do a single thing with that piece of property, and that's not what he wants. He bought that to build a home for his children.
And it's currently zoned what?
Agriculture. If we make him rezone it to residential, 300 feet all the way around it has to be maintained at 12 inches or less. Cause it's next to a residential district.
I think we need to do away with that too. Just my opinion.
That was put in place when Mr. Dempsey was mayor.
Okay, so he owns that piece, I mean, he would only be responsible for mowing his property.
But the farmers would have to keep 300 feet on each side of his property,
Uh,
12 inches or less.
So the variance request is for
To
the
allow him to remain agriculture and build his home on it. Planning commission suggested that I talk to Tom. I had it and a couple other things on the agenda. I reached out to Tom. Tom and I were able to actually connect.
Would it not be smarter to rezone him to residential and then give the variance to the farmers around that property?
Tom's recommendation is that we allow him to remain agriculture, allow the man to build his home. Because
That's what he said to me.
it's in writing, you have it in your packet.
And the man,
Huh?
did Ken own that or did he already
Yeah,
sold
he did.
it?
He
Ken
owned
owned
it.
it, so the
It's
man
been
sold
sold.
it.
It's
And-
sold a
Like
couple
three
of times,
times.
yeah,
Yeah.
since then. And they sold it, put it back up for sale because they couldn't do anything with it. Unfortunately, the
forever.
realtors misrepresented it big time when they sold it.
How do they get held accountable?
They done.
Well,
That's like the third time.
But, we're trying to figure that one out.
That was a big topic of discussion.
We ran into this once before.
Yes, we have a precedent on Manning, Southwood Fire Department, we did the same thing on a 1 acre tract for a young couple that just wanted to build a home for their family. The same thing, the realtor told them they were out in the middle of nowhere, basically, they could do what they want. Wrong, when they come to ask questions. Mr. Egan and I
Just
talked
make the consensus
extensively for
is,
months.
Mrs. B,
Let him keep it ag and let him build a house.
That's my recommendation as well. Tom and I talked extensively about it.
I would let him be residential and the variance be issued to the farmers around it, that's the part that. Cause once he's agriculture, I'm not saying he wouldn't, but the next person that comes along never has to mow it or do anything if they don't choose to.
Well, if they decide to develop the other, they're gonna have to.
It ain't been mowed anyway.
Well, this guy might.
Even on agricultural land though, you have to maintain a certain distance from the house. I mean, there's stuff in the
Yeah.
ordinance.
Yeah.
There's stuff in there.
Yeah, you can't let it be a nuisance.
Yeah.
The planning commission, you know, they were leaning towards, my understanding, you guys were leaning toward allowing him to remain agriculture,
Yeah.
which is
I'm not opposed to it, I'm
to
just,
reach out to the
just
attorney.
thinking other options.
Is that correct, Dennis? As far as allowing him to keep it agriculture.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know what else you do.
That's the thing. So we left it, they said that they would take, the planning commission that they would consider the attorney's opinion, which is what they asked for, and then move it on to you guys. So I did the due diligence and that's what I'm.
Anybody else have any questions?
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve 8B, to keep it agriculture, zoned ag at, address 5030 South Radio Road, and allow the variance.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, motion approved.
Thank you,
Yep.
so much, Judge. Thank you.
Good luck and welcome to Union City.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
What you does that help?
Thank you all.
Easy.
You're doing a lot better than really appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree, I just get that rules like that.
You got four things done. Woo. I got in and out of it.
How that's not regulated.
That's farming.
All right, we're back to, now we need to move over to,
Code enforcement, that, oh no, sorry, further back than
where
that.
we go? We need to move to,
Number 6, correspondence from citizens, where they're at right now.
I'm still not done moving.
Is there anybody else here waiting on the agenda items?
Yes, we need to go to executive session to discuss this.
Okay.
So number 19, executive session, board of trustees will retire to executive session for the purpose of confidential.
I didn't read anything.
Or not the, employees, okay. To address Union City employees' ethics and general procedures. The board of trustees will retire to executive session for the purpose of confidential communication between the board of trustees and county attorney. The board of trustees may consider and take any action deemed appropriate as a result of the executive session. So do I have a motion to go into executive?
I'll make that motion. Executive session.
Motion, do I have a second? Motion and second, all those in favor? Aye, motion approved. At 7:56.
Adjourn executive session.
Have a motion, have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved at 8:43. Nineteen B, no action for now. Now, let's go back here.
Hope you're marching on to the end.
Alright. If I hit them twice, we'll just stay a little longer, don't worry.
Correspondence from citizens.
Yes, correspondence for citizens, number 6.
Do we have any? Nothing?
No action. Number 7, financial reports. The regular monthly financial reports for all funds are provided to the board of trustees for their review and information by Union City Treasurer Michelle Burns. At the close of business, January 31, 2025, the bank balances are as follows. ARPA is empty, capital improvement $396,084.20. Community events at $9,698.20. Federal asset forfeiture at $23,784.84. General fund at $254,784.84. State asset forfeiture at $6,212.31. Street and alley at $11,574.33. Traffic bond and refund at $45,737.18. Municipal authority at $812,750.80. Municipal deposit funds at $53,909.12. UCPD community projects at $5,640.71. Union City Dispatch at $29,456.51. Union City Fire Department at $818,564.14. Union City Police Department at $333,920.22. Number 8, Department of Union City Code Enforcement.
My report, and I gave you the updates there on the bottom, next page.
So is this storage container, is this a shipping container?
Yep,
We allow that?
yep. Containers are portable buildings.
Well, I could save a lot of money.
There's a lot of those around, there really are, more than you would think.
Yeah.
Seems to be more the way that a lot of people are going. Just they hold up better than portable ones.
Shows no drilling permits, so we already done the permit for the one they're putting over on the river.
Yes, sir.
Still confused on that.
Makes no sense to me.
The entryway is right off the river bridge.
Just, that looks, yeah, terrible spot.
That's an ODOT permit, unfortunately.
I've seen the river over that.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised the Corporation Commission doesn't have rules against being that close to moving water.
I think it's a blind spot coming over the bridge.
They permitted it.
Huh?
They permitted it, which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean-
There's no way I would have ever put one that close to the river, for one thing, it's floodplain wise. And it's that alone.
Hopefully they put a caution sign, stuff.
I took advantage of the lower time code for flight, I've gotten all my certifications completed already for the year. It doesn't interfere with crash, we see.
Good job on the certification.
Pretty good every year, you know, there'll be a couple of refresher courses that I take that'll pop up, something that I think might help me that I'll still take without the aid, but my requirements are done.
Okay, any more questions? 8A, planning commission minutes.
You guys have already approved what the recommendation was on that.
Yeah. Got a motion?
Make a motion to accept the minutes of the planning commission.
I'll second it.
Motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. 8C, water and sewer non-franchise permit, consideration approval, denial amendment, revision or acceptance of a water and sewer non-franchise utility permit approved by Scott Vaughn and David Jones for a utility facility on kind of Union City right of ways. I believe everyone has looked at that, right, Tom, right, everybody?
You've got a letter from Tom, actually.
Yeah,
Um,
he said it was good.
yeah, that proposal from
Yeah.
Scott. And obviously Scott's recommendation is for y'all to put something in place, on the permit side, whether it be that or, for
In that, did they have a recommendation?
utilities.
It's not a fee schedule.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's what we're gonna need to come up with.
We don't, you know, what, that's something we'll have to come up with, say we all, on a fee schedule or whatever the case may be. My question would be, since Dobson asked before we had this, can we actually do it with them or not, since we haven't granted them totally permission yet?
We
Make sense?
charge them a fee since they've already done it before we decided to do it.
That's why I'm at, that's what I'm talking about, I would, and that, he's available too, I can call him, easy.
Who wrote this?
That is,
Scott?
Oh, Scott did, he helped, he supplied this?
That
Yeah,
was his
I gave,
recommendation.
and he said that that's what most towns do.
okay.
And we can change it, as need be,
He's,
but, you know, whatever we decide, but that's just a draft from him for us to adopt. You know, because they're just gonna keep more and more utilities want to come in, and this gives us a little bit of protection. For instance, since our last meeting, TDS is now going to redo the whole town, and they get fiber as well, so, yeah, I don't know what to do to them, because they're totally already here, TDS, home company.
Hello, Mr. Perkins, really got a quick question. On the, running all the cable lines and all that stuff in the right of ways. Let's take, Dobson, for example, they they put in a request for a permit before we've ever decided on a price or anything, can we still go ahead with them, or are they kinda like, in a sense, grandfathered in?
I'm sorry,
Can we bill them, or make them pay for a permit, since they put in for a permit before we've made any rules on
Or yeah,
permits?
submission.
No, yeah, I would say no.
Oh, in other words, we're going to grandfather,
Yeah.
that's what you said,
Yeah.
grandfather, because they already had a permit.
Well, they don't have the permit yet, they requested one.
What I'm saying is, if you gave them a permit,
Can we bill
and
them
then
for
wanted, oh, I think you can, yeah,
it? Okay.
because you're giving them access to your,
Right away?
right away, yeah.
All right, well, that was
Okay.
the question we had, thank you, sir.
Okay, anytime. Bye.
Can we table
Utility facilities,
and get a fee schedule
the
in place?
utility facilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause we can't,
No,
can we say a number
no.
tonight, or probably not?
You can table it to.
Building.
They're wanting to start this month,
Is that
but
if they want to do any
I don't know
anything
if I
on
wanna
the
go
gas
their own-
station,
their own
well,
way.
they have to
We've
go
gone through all the rest
and
of it.
request a permit, which then probably would. And when the permit's requested, it goes to planning commission first and then to the board?
No.
No, it goes straight.
Unless you require it for these, you can require it, I'd be happy to bring them to you.
this is something hardly ever we use, but say another gas company you wanna give them town, or,
Yeah, if you're on the
whatever,
planning
electric
commission,
company, or whatever.
what's your take on it?
I tell Dobson to kick rocks, we got too much stuff in the ground.
If you've already told them they could, they'll kind of, so.
Yeah,
Some
so,
stuff there, TDS
what
and
would-
Texas.
what do you think permit fees should be for something like that, something that's substantial?
Permit for the whole town? I'd charge them by the foot.
That's what that says, isn't it?
It does, but it doesn't
Yeah.
give an amount.
16, goes by rod.
Part of the reason they're wanting to do it is because they get federal subsidy to do it.
Yeah, they care less once they
Yeah,
get the
what
grant,
they
like I said,
actually-
the truth.
we may not get any.
They're getting a lot of money from the government to put it in as much as they can, and I guess it's business, but.
I think your bigger problem's gonna come as you grow and you get all this stuff in here, and we get a line on those fiber optics, it costs. I think it would be better if we had something where if we get their line, we're not liable for it, because they're laying it in our right of way.
Or cap the repair costs, like no repair costs over,
$8,000.
Yeah, it's our fault or
and
not.
put it in the contract.
I do for the,
What?
when people have utilities,
Really? What do y'all charge?
then
So if they cut a big fiber optic line in half, what's?
$15, how long it took to repair it?
Yeah, ballpark at 15K, 10K?
I think it's, you know, like, if it's running in front of your house, it's a small line, if it's running through the middle of town, it's a big line.
No, I'm thinking the big line, no.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the little line's easy, it's
I know-
it's deep.
Out here one time, there was a $50,000 bill.
Probably average, well, it just depends again, how much footage they had to replace, but, 5,000 would be low.
For $5,000 permit, it's gonna cause you more trouble than it's worth probably in the future.
Well, I'm just thinking, you know, we're doing a permit for,
If other towns have this, we can just reach out and see what their pay scale is for this. Same thing, maybe Scott can point us in the direction of who's currently
One that's got one,
requiring this. Huh?
up another town that's got one similar
Yeah.
to our size.
Yeah, we can see what their pay structure looks like. Table it, or we wanna make a motion to accept this or not?
I think we motion to accept that, the table Dobson.
Table adoption in lieu of the fee.
Yeah. All right,
Can you approve this one without having a fee schedule attached to it?
no.
I would rather wait until there's a
Yeah,
fee structure.
table HC and table HD.
Who's gonna take that action item to try to reach out to?
Would you reach back out to Scott and see what happens?
Okay,
And then I don't mind talking to the other towns as well.
Okay.
I can do it for you.
We'll have
Let's see what we do.
an estimate next week.
okay, thank you.
And also the other thing, like Arena, for example, they're doing their own fiber now.
Yeah.
But now Cox has gone in from all the way from Yukon west. All out by the airport, everywhere, they're hitting all them small neighborhoods now. Dobson's following them.
It's a race.
soon as they get here. GDS now starting as well.
They just all get money to do it, so that's.
Yeah, they care less if you get on it, they get money put in the ground. It don't even make
I'm not,
economical sense to put 4 fibers in this little bitty town.
My Tesla robot's gonna need something, probably.
yeah.
Out in my yard.
I think we should table it.
Yeah.
All right, 8E.
We're tabling both 8C and 8D?
Yes. 8E, ordinance number 2025-3, detachment.
We have ordinance drafted here, I think you guys took a look over the weekend, I have 6 copies, if anybody wants to look at it, but it should be ready for signature.
Okay. Do I have a motion on 8E?
What is, the purpose of the de-annexation?
Essentially, remove certain within the city limits, make certain not part of the city, essentially.
Jeff, you
Not
know
part of
any
their
more on this?
jurisdiction.
More like,
On what your family's intentions are of being de-annexed from this, or?
I just don't feel, I can't really speak for my mother, my mom and our attorney, but, I would, there's most people out there feel like the city's not serving that area like it should. I mean,
Does this include,
they don't even get trash service out there, all they get is police service. And it's already in the fire district, that's about the only thing that's provided out there.
does this, and forgive me for not knowing all these descriptions, but does this include the corner properties and down there where the house is built both?
Mhm.
And does that include your place too? Okay. And that's it, just those areas?
Correct.
Which would still leave you a quarter of a mile or half.
Now, why was this put
Okay.
through this way instead of coming in and doing the proper procedures to do it?
Different company. You know, there's 2 different ways that it can be done, to my understanding.
I think Mr. Ferguson probably has some insight into that.
It can be done by petition or by ordinance, and this is what we're
Not
doing.
requested by ordinance.
Right.
Okay. All right, well,
And this is what your mom wants, and you guys want, correct? Okay. I just have one question about, her running for office and how that changes this.
that will take her, it'll make it to where she was no longer.
Cause she applied to run for office, is she aware of that if we did this, that
I
she
believe
is?
so, yeah.
Okay. And she's okay with that? That ultimately, I guess, would remove her from the election.
You ready?
I'm a neighbor, I don't wanna cause any hard feelings, but I think you're probably setting yourself up for, meetings to last till midnight for the next few months. If you pass it, everybody else is gonna want out. Just kinda my way of thinking, kinda way what happened up there with Del Reno and I like to be able to do what I wanna do on my property, but, you get to thinking about someone that you don't know across the fence, and, well, kinda like what we bought out there. At the beginning, you know, we didn't think it was, what the type of development that we wanted around us, but, you know, it can be a lot of other things too, that we have no control over if we aren't in the city limits. I mean, at least we have some say to kind of go by the ordinances. And I'm not saying Mrs. Legale will do something like that, but I think it's just setting up to have a lot of other people come up and want out of the city limits if it goes through.
And maybe you can answer, maybe anybody here can answer. Like I have a close friend of mine that just recently purchased some land out on the far east side of El Reno, but he was in the county limits, not in city limits at all. And all of a sudden, El Reno took that land into the city, and him and that entire group there, he's building a brand new home, and they went and tried to fight it, and there's really nothing they can do. Once Union City, or once El Reno expanded their city limits to cover his area, like, he's now in city limits, and he has to change, you know, a number of things. Like, how does that process work? Like, if a town wants to, like, you know, if we annex land, let's say we annex land between here and El Reno, and it becomes county, and then El Reno decides to swallow that up, how does that work? Does anybody know?
It has to be continuous with that city. They can't jump over a mile and take your area, so they'll be within a half a mile of Oklahoma City limits. So if somebody from a half a mile within was to be annexed and you allowed it, then Oklahoma City could come right there and take it.
And
Kind of like El Reno did, but it was just a formality that they had a meeting in.
They stole that ground out of El Reno, I don't care how you look at that. That's a whole nother ball of wax, obviously, you know, but, I mean, that's pretty wrong for a town just to take, put 23 square miles or something out there. Those poor folks up there didn't even have they didn't get a letter, or a say, or a
Oh, no, it was
vote, or
100% surprised, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably people that weren't very happy with how that played out. I'm sure there'll be something that happened to that.
I touched a section out here that it's not in the city limits, it was, when the town, and I don't even remember when this was, when the town kinda grew out and took in a bunch of ground, and, they petitioned to have that section out, with, you know, and it's surrounded by Union City, and, I worry about that too. There's, one of the owners lives in Oklahoma County, and part of them in El Reno, but, it didn't take long for them for a saltwater disposal to see that and build on it.
I don't think Union City's stopping any saltwater disposals though, even in their city limits.
Well, I mean, they didn't have to do anything for that one. I mean, at least if it was, they would have to approach you.
Well, do I have a motion?
It's a tough one. I'm of the opinion that down the road, Union City will have to annex land at some point anyway, but just doing it in a strategic way that, you know.
I think Mr. Ferguson has some extra information on that, and I don't know, if they're not going to, maybe they need to be able to prove that section 32 was ever annexed in the first place.
Explain, I don't know what section 32 is, or anything.
That's one of these pieces of property, that entire mile section, not only is that one, that, the gas mile section out, but section 32, there's no records of it ever being annexed, and Mr. Ferguson hasn't provided any proof that it was ever annexed into Union.
When you say annex, so annexed into Union City.
In 1962, yeah.
Yeah.
That.
We can't get documents from 5 years ago.
Well, it's supposed to be filed in the courthouse, and that section that he's referring to, that one was left out. Section 32 was left out, and the next section to the east was left out.
So is section 32, is it considered covered by Union City, even though it wasn't
Y'all
annexed?
consider covered by Union City, but we can't find any records at the courthouse or anywhere that prove that it was ever properly annexed in. The other section to the east of section 32 was annexed in the 80s.
All right, hold on a second.
So one of these might be.
So we have a question here, something about, section 32, and no one could ever find any information on where it was ever annexed in to start with. Was that ever discovered or found?
This and this are the two that.
Oh, I see, okay. So, and this is 32.
My well, I'm going by recollection. The question, it was never found whether it was actually annexed into Union City or not.
And is that the reason for the request for detachment?
What keeps them from going here?
I never understood that was part of the request for detachment.
It's
casework on cities Linus Gregory.
She is not here, her boys are here, they don't wanna they really don't wanna speak for her.
Not like this.
And we're trying to understand what her reasoning for
Say that it's
detachment
not.
was.
It's just not.
Well, you can pass it to the next, meeting and ask that she appear and,
It'll be in Oklahoma City.
state her reasons for the detachment.
Okay.
We can get her on the phone.
That's what I do, I mean,
I guess they're calling her right now.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's 9:10, how long does it take her to get there? You're gonna be there till, I think I would. That's, I don't know, it's up to you guys, I mean.
Okay.
But that's a solution,
Okay.
okay?
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
She's actively trying to run for a board seat, and so if your solution is to push it down the road, she might, I mean, that's gonna complicate things at that point. If she takes somebody's seat and then gets, detached at that point, then we'd have to do a different election, or, however that plays out, I don't know how that
Well,
works.
no, I mean, if that happened, at that point, she would no longer be qualified for the seat, so she'd have to step down.
Agreed,
At that point, we just appoint someone into the
agreed.
seat.
I just mean pushing it down the road,
Yeah.
causing a bit of, whatever.
Yeah, but at the same time, we also have a neighbor next door that says,
Understood,
that
understood,
kinda puts a kink in it too.
understand.
I was just trying to better understand where Oklahoma City's city limits end versus where,
Gregory Road.
yeah, that's what he was explaining to me, so there's,
Mile east,
Half mile from section,
yeah.
quarter.
but you're saying that number 30, you said 32, so, but 33, there is proof that it was,
Hey, you on? Hello? Can you hear me?
32, no proof, 33. proof.
proof, okay,
They wanna-
so it was filed.
Yeah,
They wanna know if you wanna state your reasons for de-annexation. The meeting's going on right now. You interested in talking to them? Okay. Alright, I'll let them know. Alright, thanks. Bye. She says Mr. Ferguson is aware of everything.
I am not aware of everything. I am not aware of everything.
All right. What you will.
I personally am okay with this, that's what they want, I mean, it's their land.
We'll make a motion on it?
I'll make a motion, you guys can choose.
So so if I wanted to keep my house in, but my farmland out, I could do that. And I could build 154 houses on there, correct? On a big farm.
Actually, yes.
To be clear, we almost did that across the street, no matter who was in town or not.
Yeah. I'm open to it because it's on the far outskirts of town. I mean, it's at the very edge. If it was in the center or even, a mile or two further in,
Still goes
you
a
know,
mile
huh?
further. It's still-
Well,
we
yeah, I mean,
extend another mile.
one of them is, yeah,
Yeah,
and then,
one of them goes
then
a
her
mile.
house is a half mile.
If Ryan wants to do that and build 154 houses, he'd have to connect to city sewer. And if he connected to city sewer, he'd have to be responsible, if he was to de-annex.
He
he'd be
would be able to
responsible
connect
for
to the city sewer.
Right, well, he'd have to be responsible for the city infrastructure. There's no city infrastructure out there, like, if there's city water lines or something and you were to de-annex, you'd have to pay for all of that, so the city could charge, like, hey, we got $4 million worth of water lines and fiber optic that go in this area.
So I'd have to build a lagoon.
Yeah.
Or put in,
Good.
the deal that guy was gonna do.
Well, and then you can only do one every half a mile, every half, for,
3/4 acre lot.
3/4, a half acre lot. Or 3/4 if you had wells on each one.
Or just one big pig farm.
Good, but DEQ has to approve it still. The rules for that aren't any different than what the city rules would be when it comes to waste.
I don't understand why we wanna give away land, or let go land, I don't.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I don't understand why we wanna give away land, or detach from land.
We don't feel like we're getting a whole lot of representation out there anyway.
They don't even get trash service.
Well, no trash, no water, nothing. police department, thank you for everything you do, 15 minutes away. I mean, I'm fine with that, I'm okay with that part, but I don't wanna have to go by all the rules of everything else.
When they put in a well right across the street from your house and the decibel levels, 100 decibels, does the city care? They say, well, there's nothing we can do, our hands are tied, that's the corporation commission. I mean, the city's not representing the citizens out there.
Jimmy, is any of this land down in here county at all?
No,
None?
no, it's Union City or it's Oklahoma City on this line, the river's your border.
Mhm.
Everything on the south would be Grady County.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's Browns.
And-
Does Browns come in here for a lot of permits?
Come in for anything.
They're all out of Union City?
Yeah, as
100%
far as I know.
of them?
Except for everything on this side of the river.
Excuse me? So all Browns land on this side of the river is in Union City?
Yeah.
To Gregory Road, yes. To Gregory Road, it is.
Do they have land on this side of the road?
Yes,
Around this side of the road?
yeah, from about a half a mile in between Banner and
I'm just
Main.
curious how many permits that place has purchased over the past, I don't know, 50 years.
I've never seen one in my 5 years.
Well, maybe you ought to drive down there, That's the type of situation we're talking about. You got somebody down there that large that does whatever they wanna do. I've seen it personally ever since I was this tall on a four-wheeler.
Teresa, we require a,
Good luck.
Notices of
They'll bankrupt this town. You go after Brahms like that, I don't care, but I'm just telling you, you better just be willing to where you're gonna fight your battles on something like that, because I'm sure there's lots down there that you can get yourself into if you're willing to go down that pathway, as far as, building or dirt work or whatever you wanna call it, but,
Are they zoned ag?
oh, sure.
Yes.
Is 104th the mile for the property line, or on south of that, even further down to the river?
Yeah.
onto the river.
River's the borderline, is that what it is?
Yes, it is, the borderline is the river, yep.
You'll have to call the sheriff if you want anything done, won't you?
So I'm okay with that. And like I say, I appreciate the police department wholeheartedly. But in 15 minutes' time, it's already over with. Whatever happened in my house, it's already done. You gotta bring clipboard. Okay? And I'm fine with that. I understand that part of it.
We require, notices be sent to landowners and a meeting be held whenever we change the zoning area for the town. I don't think it'd be any more to ask for us to do the same for the landowners that surround that area and see what they have to say. You have McDowell's and all close to you.
That wasn't in the book. That wasn't the rules that we were asked to follow for this particular situation. I understand what you're
So
saying.
there's not a rule as far as that goes. I mean, you can have a meeting to see what your surrounding landowners think too, because they are affected.
I understand, yeah, I understand that.
Just to be fair to them, I mean, it's your land.
I
it's like-
understand that. Listen, I've sat through numerous meetings with a room packed, and no one really cared a whole lot of what we had to say about it. And so however you guys wanna go about that, I'm fine with that, but if you think that
They're not building over there right now, are they?
they're not building, but I don't know if anybody's seen the corner of Banner Road and 152 lately.
A lot of dirt.
That's a lot of dirt.
I would be curious to know who the civil engineer was that engineered that pipe to put in that floodplain.
I mean, I don't care how that plays out either, that's his own business, but I'm gonna,
That might be a whole another problem that somebody has, but I mean, that's his own residential, and you can tell the oversight's not there. I doubt they've even pulled a permit on it. If they have, and somebody signed off on it, I wouldn't wanna be the engineer that signed off on it. 'Cause somebody can't.
That's what this will require, right? Right now, it's not. I mean, am I right or wrong? It's ODOT, and so, but until we have it,
This is on private property where.
but until we have this in place, we can't do anything about it, can we? I'm asking, I don't know, guys, I'm asking.
on private land, you can't do something from ODOT?
There's some utilities, this was part of that highway project that was permitted.
What they're doing is not highway, This is on private property.
What are they doing? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar.
There's about 800 loads of dirt that moved in on the floodplain.
They've raised the floodplain up probably 6 feet, and then
And which property is this again? Is it that same property that wanted to do all the?
y'all rezoned.
Yeah.
The residential. And they put in a culvert pipe about this big around over there, and the box that goes under the highway's like, I don't know, 5 foot by 12 foot.
But that's the property owner doing that, or it's
Yeah,
ODOT doing
well,
that?
the property owner's doing the dirt work. The ODOT, the highway's just getting rid of dirt.
I tell you what,
And it's gonna wash out your road, probably what's gonna happen, cause it's gonna shoot that water out, and it's gonna be shooting at such a high velocity, cause now you're piling water up behind it. But I mean, it's not our problem, but somebody ought to look at it, that's what the city's supposed to be doing.
if you didn't know any better, and you drove past that situation, you'd think, oh, they're working on a highway. You wouldn't have a clue. They're taking a lot of dirt from the highway, that's where the highway's dumping it. But this is private individuals doing work on the corner of Banner Road and 152 on the north.
So they're basically probably getting paid by ODOT to allow them to put that dirt there?
They're probably not even paid or anything. Our point isn't that, we don't have, whatever they're doing, they're doing. I'm just saying that there's just a lack of, for a city that's supposed to be maintaining all of this, like code enforcement's not out there looking at this stuff and saying, hey, you know, what's going on? They've moved all these loads of dirt into this floodplain. Like, who's our floodplain person around here?
That's an ODOT project at
It's
this
not-
point.
It's not in the ODOT
know.
easement. It's happening outside.
Please drive by there and tell me that's
I
ODOT.
do.
You tell me all that.
Times a week. I drive by
Okay.
there. I don't have anything.
You can't drive down this every time a week unless you're going
As
back to
far as
my
the
house.
development permit, that's where I have to go with that.
Johnny, your reasoning, I've been pushing for the next
There's
meeting,
no development at this point.
the deal, but if you don't, then
I mean, I think they've been clear enough, yeah. I wanna make a motion, you guys vote however you'd like, and then y'all can go the other direction, but, I make a motion that we approve 8E and de-annex the property, the descriptive below.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate you guys listening to us on this situation. Wholeheartedly.
You won't have any say now, though, or anything goes on around it.
At least on our piece of ground, we will.
Yeah, that's right.
Number 9, Department of Union City Police.
You all should have a report, nothing crazy going on, let me know if you got questions.
And that will be effective immediately, like what do we have to do on our end, you file that with, how does that process work? I don't know, I'm asking.
That would be an attorney question.
It's explained a little bit in the ordinance, I believe the city, the mayor has to file something with the county clerk.
Okay.
This month, we had a total of 294 traffic stops. 41% resulted in a citation, 59% resulted in a
I'm
warning.
just trying to make sure we cover all the logistics of things. Even though we pre-voted, don't they still need to turn in a vote?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
I said nay.
you said nay, and you said,
No.
okay, so y'all documented that, okay, just making sure everything's documented. Sorry to interrupt.
This probably does.
Yeah, just making sure it's about 9 across the beach.
And also, is there a way that we can remove that
Remove what?
to where if someone wants this in the future, it's not the board's choice, they have to come and go through all the steps?
No, they can do it either by petition or by ordinance, that's.
That's the state statute, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
You just said no, that they had to do a petition, isn't that
Yeah,
correct?
right.
Okay. Alright, Chief, what is OACP?
Oklahoma Association of Chiefs of Police.
I'm not on social media, are you still posting those for people?
It's been a while since I've done it,
Okay.
I can.
We'll pick that back up.
I got a question on it this week, and I was like, I think it's on Facebook, and they were like, well, couldn't find it, so I'll ask.
People really enjoy
I
it.
can get back on it.
Could I ask one question concerning the detachment and the legals on it? And my question is that when I read this, I really don't know where the hell I'm at just as a normal citizen. So would it be hard when we do things like this, to this extent, to say it's at the corner of Banner Road and 152?
I think it
On
has
this
to be in the
corner.
legalities.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can have legalities, but you could also say.
But I wouldn't be above like having.
And so-and-so's
The
property.
area mapped out here, blacked out or something, you know.
Like
It's
I
what they
did for
did
Ray
there, and they're similar to us.
So, I mean, I can figure this out, but
Yeah.
some people may not be able to
Yeah.
as much as I could, and so that would let everybody know.
I
Because
submitted-
we do a lot of things when we do this kind of stuff, or even rezoning,
When I
and
do
it's illegal.
rezonings, I do the legals, and then I put where the property is located, and a lot of times I'll put who the property owners are. And
I
that's
think it
just
gives
kinda
people a
let the
better
general public,
opportunity
yeah.
to voice their opinion one way or
Right.
another. So,
It's just that.
I see where you're coming from, to allow the community to know.
the community,
Yeah.
know, I mean, hell, if you don't,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people don't know how to read this map, and people don't even read maps nowadays, I mean, they got it on their phone, so. But they might know where that spot's at out there, or anybody else.
Any other questions on police? No? Moving on. Union City Fire.
Everything's going as normal, we did finish our training for CPR and the first day with police, and that went well, so, nothing to report.
Number 11, emergency management.
So, I had several people come in Saturday and do a storm siren test, see where we're at. 6 out of 11 failed. The guys going around getting quotes, figuring out exactly what's wrong with them, doing different things, so.
How could we possibly
I
have
mean,
6 out of 11 fail?
Exactly.
I'm just, I think of things like, anything mechanical, the more it sits, and the more it doesn't get used.
Right.
Is using them and testing them every week help with any of these things?
He said, no, it's always something different. The truth is, a lot of them are just flat old, and, it's always something with them, so I'm gonna try to start budgeting 2 a year to replace.
What is the general cost of one of those?
Around 25 grand.
25 grand?
Do you look for any grants to replace several of them in one?
I haven't, but I will. This just happened, so,
Um,
now,
so how many
a
fell
couple
on
of them
our-
was a fuse. I mean,
how many of them fell on our lap?
So it was just two, I think. But for instance, the one right here on the four-way, I don't think we're putting money in, because we have this one here now that's really loud. Back in the day, we had that one and the one at, by the cemetery, because they're both three-phase, and they were put on different electric systems. That way, if one electric company went off, the other one would keep going, hopefully, at least to get something out, you know what I mean? That was the thought on those. Those things are well over 60 years old.
Is this one generator backup?
This one's battery and generator in town, this one right here, and it's loud, so it will override, so there's, like, we'll take that one out of service unless it's a $5 part or something. But, the others were just little things here and there that just happened. We also were told, and I got her all the information, did they say anything yet? But we sent it into the insurance to get them all insured. Did a lightning or whatever the case may be in the future,
So they replaced fuses on how many?
I'm not sure, they were still working on it, they were going out, and I know they got 2 or 3 working, but they haven't told me exactly where they're at, what they did.
The ones that had both fuses on them, were they on CK Energy?
Probably, like, for instance,
With all the power outages and.
Banner and Prairie Circle, which is between 15th and Reno, you know, have one housing distance in the city limits, the rest isn't, where you live, but, and I can't remember, 36th and Banner, which is up there by y'all, is that CK?
Yeah, no,
Or is it OG?
I don't know who it is.
Anyway, the one that's in your yard, or the Seneca County Water Authority yard. So still waiting on future, but we're not gonna put a ton of money into anything until we figure out why.
Shoot, might be able to CK Energy if they can
Yeah.
find us.
You know, you ask them for a little money, worst thing they can say is no. Number 12, Department of Union City Water Sewer.
On the project down there, we're literally probably 5 working days away from being finished, but we can't get the weather to, cause we've got the rest of it's pouring concrete, letting it cure. As soon as the weather breaks, we'll get that forward and that part will be done, so.
Awesome. 13, Department of Animal Control.
Missed B, 12B.
Did I miss one? Alright, 12B. Oh, well, yeah, I did miss that. Resolution 2205-2, raise water deposit rate. Consideration and possible approval, denial, amendment, revision, or acceptance of raising water deposit rate for new owners from $150, or for new owners to $150 and new renters up to $300. Do I have a motion?
And our main reasoning for this is because our costs
Right,
have
so,
gone up.
back when it was really set, this is what I was told, I didn't do it, but, if someone, say, rented a house and then left, well, $150 would kind of cover 2 months worth of, if they never paid the bill.
Right, you told us that.
Right now,
Yeah.
with the water, we're just trying to get, or if they leave, we're not losing as much.
So if I understood the CPA, she said that that's money supposed to go in like an escrow account.
Yeah, it goes to different
And
counties.
you're supposed to know what each person pays.
Yeah, it's on the thing, I mean, as far as the newer stuff, I don't know about.
Yeah.
And what it does is, that account, it was kind of, so if you have a deposit down and you move, you get your deposit back, then I move into your house, I put a deposit down, so that account won't be growing necessarily unless there's a new meter, if that makes sense. Cause how it works, if I'm correct, is they, usually hold their last bill out, then battle the difference, if there is a difference or whatever.
So,
But that
but
money comes
there's
in.
more than just this on this resolution, we also have sewer hookups, on existing lines, 500, that's staying the same as what it is currently now?
Yeah.
Okay, and is D, E, G, and H all the same as well?
I
Is
don't
there
think
any
that's
other
from-
changes on here, I guess, is what I'm asking?
That's all I'm saying. All they changed is that,
The only
that's,
change that was made as far as we took out
Where the auditors found a discrepancy.
the auditors found a discrepancy with,
there was one sentence in the,
the,
ordinance when you changed the billing that really didn't need to be there, it was kind of confusing, so they recommend take that out,
Get removed.
correct?
yes, it did get removed, it was S, so, but that's no longer on there.
It was a contradiction of what
It said the minimum bill will be 30, and then underneath it said 0 to something gallons will be, whatever it is, 39 or whatever. the number is. 41, so they recommend taking that one out.
So now we don't have a minimum?
We do, it's just taking that one sentence out because it was
Especially in their slides, but they contradicted each other, they had
Yeah.
different amounts.
something that probably just got left and kept moving each time, had to raise it.
Keith,
Hmm.
here's the original one that we're looking at. On F, it says, minimum fee of meter is 30.
And but where's the second part of
The
that?
second part is A,
Okay.
4192. So
So the
it's
first 2,000
2,000
gallons.
gallons, so it's.
No matter what, okay, I get it, okay. So that's
There might have been a reason back in the day for that, but we couldn't figure it out, so they said move it.
Okay, and that's the only changes.
That was the only changes other than the water.
Anybody have any other questions?
Not me.
Well, you got lost in the middle.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve 12B, resolution 20205-2, to raise the water deposit rate from 150 to 200, and to remove, the previous line S.
I'll second that.
When is it effective?
Immediately, wouldn't it?
Immediately, yeah.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Moving?
All right, number 14, Department of Union City Streets and Alleys.
Definitely, you did do 13, there's no report.
Well, I said in the last one, but I
There you go.
figured.
Is the little thing down here with the road on your report, or do we need to?
It was on Teresa's.
Yeah,
one.
Okay,
it's
yeah.
over.
Yeah, okay, then I don't have anything to report.
All done, and then they worked it out themselves, or what do you mean all done?
We found documentation showing that it was never closed.
Just
In regards to
narrow a
the
little
It
bit.
was just narrowed, and then the notes, they found them up here, and when they were looking through that stuff with the auditors, the notes were actually on the original ordinance, explained why they did that and what they did exactly. It started out as a 80-foot street.
And both copies have been given to both parties, or I mean, they're under.
One party is aware, the other one is not the legal owner, but the other property owner on that street has been notified.
Okay.
Alright, number 15, Department of City Town Clerk. Read it to me, I'm tired of reading.
W-2s are completed and mailed out. Everything else is normal.
Awesome. 15A, bank account changes.
When we started with everybody being on the bank account, that was so everybody could sign checks. And now that we're paperless, I don't need everybody to sign checks. So what I do is I'm wanting to leave whoever the mayor is and whoever the vice mayor is as signers on the bank account, that nobody else needs to be on it to sign checks. Tammy will be on it to be a backup for my office, and then those two will be backups for each other. If you're curious, and I'm still kind of curious why you guys haven't asked, but on your packets up there, you have pages that show all the POs I've paid and who approved them and all that. Why are you looking at me?
I'm just listening to you, you're talking.
It makes me nervous. So, but that's why.
I was asked a question, and I thought it would give the mayor something, if a mayor, whoever is the mayor, was out of town or not able to sign a check that they needed, I thought they would get like a backup, like a device. I wasn't trying to seclude any of the, or exclude any of the trustees out, I'm just saying it would narrow it down to two people.
The only question I had was, so when I think of how this town, you know, and how towns and cities work with boards that serve, if it's narrowed down to only two people on the bank account, does it change any of the liability of the individuals that are not on the bank account? Cause I pictured as time has went, that when you have all five,
That might be a research question.
And
I'm
personally
asking
don't
that
wanna be
because
on
like,
it.
if he's the mayor and he's the vice mayor, you've removed our three names off of the bank account. I feel like it takes liability off of the people who are no longer on that account and puts more liability on these two individuals. And so for me, it was a liability question. So, cause it becomes real when you think, oh, I just wanna go down and help make positive change and improve my community and try to do good things and blah, blah, blah. But when your name gets put on a bank account, all of a sudden you feel like, oh crap, like we're the five people that are responsible to make sure that this thing floats.
Right.
And when you remove names off of that list, does that liability shift to only those two individuals? I mean,
Well,
it's a liability question, I don't have a clue.
It does as far as the board, but it's actually four of us.
Mhm.
It's my office, which I do the checks anyway. I have Tammy as a backup, and then those two. So
I'm fine
instead of
leaving it the way it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I
But it
was just
doesn't-
asking.
I don't have a dog in the fight, I'm just asking questions
It
because.
doesn't make any sense if you're not signing checks, there's no reason for you to be on the bank.
The only reason I could see is, let's say Mr. Keith Dennis wanted to go down and be like, I'm gonna go to the bank and see exactly how much is in there today.
Oh, you'll still be able to see, you just won't be signing checks.
My wife can't even sometimes get information out, if I don't have her own stuff.
That is true.
Yeah, it's true, I mean, she's tried to call and pay bills for me and they won't accept a check.
But
She's
that's
still trying to figure out how
also-
much is in his 401K.
Trust me, she knows every detail.
Also, another reason, on the front, and number 7, at the corner, that's why I put those papers in there for you guys, so you can see what the balances are, you can see.
Yeah, I'm
But
just,
you'll still be able to-
again,
you'll
you know,
have
it's a
it
liability
online
thing.
access.
it's not a transparency thing, we're fixing all of that, I'm
Yeah.
good with the transparency, I want everyone in the room to know what that finances
The
look like.
online access, your ability to see what the bank accounts are, doesn't change with you being a signer. Those are two separate things.
Mhm. You understand my liability question, right?
Do,
Okay.
yeah, I don't have an answer for you, but I understand your question.
Should we table it for 30 days and you
We certainly
research
can,
that to make sure?
absolutely.
Does it matter?
Huh?
Does it matter? It won't make you any, it won't make them any more liable, and it won't make you any more liable than you are right now. It might make you less.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's how I view it, I feel like I'm immediately less liable and there's more liability placed on those two
I can go
individuals.
either way, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to,
We could even go with
Make it as simple
a
as-
trustee. Not mine. I'm just saying, all I know is.
No, if it's gonna be done, I like it named the vice
We're
mayor
having
and the
to
mayor.
scroll
Yeah.
for a very long
Yeah,
time.
that's the way it should be, yeah, yeah.
What's
I've never
what's
been
in my
inside,
name?
I've never been inside that bank anyway, so what's the matter?
I could go either way.
Why
I'm just
wouldn't
trying to
Michelle's back
simplify
up?
things down.
Be when somebody here.
Huh?
Why wouldn't Michelle's backup be? I don't know.
Well, it could be. But if I'm out for some reason, medically or whatnot, if I'm out, then somebody has to know the process of writing the check, of which I'm training Tammy to do. Do you see what I mean? Like, it's not a matter of just going in and writing
But all the
a check.
checks have to be
There-
signed, no matter whether she writes them or not, or if you write them, she writes them, doesn't matter.
She would have
Because
to
one of
have-
these two individuals
yes,
has
they-
to sign them.
Yeah, is that what you're, yeah.
Yeah.
If she's writing the check, somebody else has to sign those checks.
Perfect.
Yeah,
She can't just, it's just like me, I can't do it on my own, I have to have that backup.
Yeah, we changed that a long while back.
Yeah, that's the, yeah, is that what your question is?
And I just want that to remain, for sure. you know.
With Tammy and I, it's a matter of who can write the check itself. With you guys, it's a matter of who can back us up with a signature.
Thank you.
What's your will, gentlemen?
I'm good with it, doesn't matter to me.
I make a motion that we accept that, the mayor and vice mayor sign the checks, and the rest of the trustees be taken off of it.
I have a motion on 15A,
I'll second it.
and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. 15C, reimbursement for phone, consideration possible approval, denial, amendment, revision, or acceptance of a reimbursement of cell phone up to $100 per month for Tammy Woolard. We can deny that? Heck, yeah.
What do you use your cell phone for work? I mean,
What?
if you're here, I mean, why aren't you using a cell phone?
She has a cordless phone, but I'm always walking and doing my job at the same
And
time.
they move their stuff to their cell so they can move around. So like if a call comes in at her office,
Just forward it to
she
you.
forwards it to her cell.
Or they can answer.
If the office is closed, it's forwarded to her cell. I think it was probably a year and a half ago, something like that, whenever we started doing the $100 per cell phone for employees. Wasn't it? For office employees?
Yeah, you listed a former employee instead of,
Yeah.
it's probably better just to list it as that position if you wanted to. Deputy clerk, and you wouldn't have to. Either way.
That way, if we're closed due to bad weather or something like that, this office can still function with no one here. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, I just needed an explanation.
Was that a good one?
Is it, it's $100?
Up to.
Up to.
Up to $100. How do you figure that out?
They should be turning
Turning their bill.
their bill, it only covers that one line.
For instance, Hunter's is on there, but it's only like 60
It's not either, it's
or
45.
40. Well, whatever it was.
You know, cricket?
We gotta get a bill.
No.
Well,
You know, we call this mom and dad.
All right,
You actually get the free phone.
do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion
Pay up to,
to approve $100 per month, up to $100 per month with cell phone.
I do agree with what he said though about
Can-
changing it
for
to a
Cammy-
position
Cammy
versus
Lord.
individual, but
Hmm.
I kinda do agree with what David said about changing that name to a position versus,
Full-time
Well,
deputy
I
clerk.
need it to just say certain things if we're gonna do
Well,
that.
in the
Okay.
future, something that I would like to see is actual city funds
mhm.
and get rid of this entirely, give them city funds, you know?
So how do we work that out though? If you're after hours and answering your phone and you're not salaried, how do you log in and that you're working?
Don't answer your phone.
Don't answer,
Don't answer
salary,
your phone
only salary
During
employees.
the duty hours.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're not salaried.
I mean, none of our hourly employees are, they are on call, and then if they are dispatched, at that moment, their pay starts, but and they're only required, like, if customers are calling them, they're not required to answer their phones. Only management positions are required to answer their phones after hours, that's how we structure it for us, but,
I'll start paying my
So-
water bill on Saturday.
huh?
And I agree with you, Steph, I hate carrying 2 or 3 phones.
I believe we've already got something in
We're
ordinance
guaranteed
about
for
that.
as long as I can remember.
Michelle, don't we already have something in ordinance about that for office hours or 8 to 5?
Yeah, and in policy too.
Yeah.
Do the employees have to sign off on something like if, say like, something happens, say like there's they're investigating something down here, and somebody wants to FOIA like all the text messages and voicemails and calls that come to a phone? If you see they're personal phones,
No, we have an app on our phones from our desk, the company, they're called NEC, Blue Cloud. And so it's not a forward to your phone, we have an app, and when you call my desk, it'll ring on my phone.
but say you're not using desk phones at all, like the city's paying for the use of a cell phone, so say you text another employee about something, and that's public information, are y'all having to sign off on something, like how would that, if an investigator come in here and said, we want all the phone records for all the city employees, all
That
for.
would be a subpoena.
It'd be a subpoena, and when they subpoena, they can get personal work, it doesn't matter, they can
It's no
subpoena
different.
anything.
It's all one thing when they do that. But if
Once
you
you
wanted
got
to look
subpoena,
at
you go
just
people's bank
what's
accounts
work
and
and what's
everything.
not, here, I think you might understand this, Sean.
I believe you,
No,
well,
I'm sorry.
I think the city phone thing would be a better thing.
No, it's more professional.
And we,
See
not
this
get,
app right here?
this is so much stuff, right, this is,
Watch.
get some mercy.
Watch,
This
no,
rubbish.
this is how, this can answer, it keeps it all separate.
So,
All right.
So if anybody, my personal
Everybody knows what we need to
phone
do.
is different.
Yes.
This is all
Yes, we have a
logged
motion
in,
and a second,
in
all
here
those,
too.
no, I didn't get a
So
second.
there is a,
No second.
there is a.
I'll second
if
it.
they wanted to get
I made the
just
motion.
I
phone
seconded it.
records, like my work
Motion and a
records, they
second,
can
all those in
do that
favor?
too.
Aye. Motion approved.
Oh, we're moving on, sorry.
All right. Number 16, Department of Union City Human Resources. No action. Number 17, Department of Union City Payroll.
I don't think I have anything on payroll.
No action.
Did I miss human resources?
You said no action.
I was gonna introduce Deja.
Hello, Deja.
Deja, would you like to stand up and introduce yourself, please?
What a worst meeting. Hey, keep it under 5 minutes on your speech.
No, I sign in to talk, or we later did it before.
How long did they
Right.
how long did they interview you for?
20, 30 minutes?
Okay, so I'm gonna have to ask you to keep it below that amount.
Well, I think like a minute. She is considered office assistant, and she's part-time, and she, right now is being trained to work at the front window in Cammie's office on how to do payment, how to take a payment, how to do look up water billing, and how to take payments, and deposit, make deposit, open the office, yeah. She's just at the beginning. She's been here a week.
Awesome. All right,
Welcome.
number 18, Department of Union City Deputy Court Clerk. Do we have one of those? Do we have a deputy court clerk?
No,
You guys have the report.
throw anything away, right, when you're organizing stuff?
I did not throw anything away, it's all scanned in. My tickets are all scanned in, everything else is kept in a file.
Awesome.
Are you talking about the tickets at the fire station?
Your very first bullet point, you say 2025, the total posting was 52,000. Is that year to date, or is that?
I think it's for the month, it's for the month of
That's
January.
month, so that's,
January. Yeah, that's January.
So you have both.
First to the 31st.
so it's the month of January.
Yes.
Technically, it is your day.
Once again, I'm seeing a balance for the school. Is there something going on there that it's not getting paid? $3,284.
It's on the bottom sheet,
This top sheet for me.
yeah.
That's current.
So they did have a,
So they have that every month?
The 3,284?
Yeah.
It's not due yet, is it?
No. The current billing. This is the current billing. Nobody's late, there wasn't any cutoffs last month, well, there was cutoffs, there was no, anybody
But we have
shut
everybody
off.
off.
There was like 28 cutoffs.
yep, 28 cutoff notices went out.
Which
Zero had to
was,
be
that's
paid.
down a lot from the 60 plus we sometimes would have done. Is that kinda trending that way now, or no? Hit or miss?
Yeah. So, the high bill you're talking about probably is, I work with the school, and we've been going and reading that meter pretty much every day, including weekends, and watching it like a hawk, and it's not moved a bit, so. Where their high usage went, to me, was exactly during the Christmas break and the Thanksgiving break, so I would assume somebody left something on. And that's what the
That's a
school has
gym.
assumed now. Yeah, it's only a gym, so I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. So they had a high bill, and then they had another high bill, but the bill stopped in the middle of the break, if that makes sense, when it started over. And, so they contacted me, and that would be December the 10th, actually, I started reading it every day, going and checking it manually. And
Probably why a lot of them people go to those motion censored.
yeah, and, anyway, long story short, it's not shot back up, so, even during a game, you know, it's 400-500 gallons, and 30 to 40 a day, so, it wasn't the meter. So,
Hey, Jeff, when you pay your water bill, do you pay with check?
No, I always pay with cash. I'll get a receipt now.
I gave him two.
Do this time.
One time, when they had a big deal that they got a water fountain, they covered with plastic, but they don't use it, and then they push the cable up against it, they've been running. So, I'm not saying that happened this time.
What'd you do at the fire station for 2 days? What'd you do there?
Do what now? Oh, pardon. The sort of tickets.
She's working with auditors.
Say
Yeah.
that again?
Your bullet point about you went to the fire station for 2 days, what did you do there?
So I pulled out every single box of tickets that we had that were not sorted correctly, and I have them in ticket number and a tote. So it goes like E00 something, and then it goes E01, E02, all the way to, I think we got to 16016, I believe. So it's all organized now.
What?
It's all organized by ticket number, so the auditor.
And when she says tote, 27 gallons, and there's what, about 25 of them?
Whose
Yeah.
job was it to organize it prior to you? Why is it not organized?
That's a
No
good question,
longer
I'm
with
not
us.
for sure.
Okay. Then the next bullet point, you say, in the process of getting rid of Pay Texas. What is Pay Texas?
Hey, Texas is a, online ticket site, but we already have a payment online site, which is in court, which does utility billing, online as well as tickets.
And it's Pay Texas?
Right, I have a question about this one.
I was reading, I asked that question, that's the only spot I ever saw that.
Anything else, we're rowdy patty. All right. Number 20, Mayor and Trustee reports. You guys got anything to report?
Two really bad audits.
We did have two really ugly audits. I'm glad we got them.
Fine. I'll get the other three done.
Yep.
Those, I know what you're saying, but those were the 2 years that went through 4 different auditors and that, Southeast going back.
That missing documentation was unacceptable.
I agree with you, I'm just saying that,
Number 21, new business. Anybody got any new business?
Did I already ask you that, like, on all of our, let's say all of our invoices or whatever that we used to sign as checks, do we put them on like a spreadsheet so all of us could look at that?
It's on the front of your pack.
Yeah, you just looked at it.
Did I?
Yeah.
One of them is municipal and the other
And
one,
that's, right.
No, I'm like,
yeah,
all the invoices.
that's directly from Quick.
Man, I must have missed that.
I believe that was, intentional.
It worked out.
No new business, all right. I don't know if anybody wants to hear this.
The policy things, are you gonna email those?
Yes.
That list, I don't wanna get them lost.
Yes.
Those are action items that we have to,
to,
should we add them to next, on their agenda?
there was one more thing we were gonna add.
Well, it's we're gonna add an employee or employee,
Oh, that's right. That's right.
policies for the handbook. And you're gonna be working on that.
Absolutely.
I just don't want that, them need to be important action items that we start getting fixed. And as far as asset goes, guys, we're gonna have to, come up with a fair threshold. And then, I don't know how we backtrack into creating an asset list, but it's gonna have to be
We
done.
already got it.
Got it?
Yeah. Weed eaters, everything, I mean, I'm talking.
Well, I mean, it depends on what, $100. I mean,
With where we're at audit wise, it's probably gonna be $100. I'm just giving a
you
heads
can't
up.
buy pressure wrenches more on it.
I don't care, then it'll get put on, it's gonna get put on the list.
Or a valve, or what,
Yeah, all that's gonna matter, it's up to the voters to do. I'm of the attitude right now that if it's $100 or more,
$100
y'all are
$100.
y'all are doing weed eaters and we can do weed eaters, we're a much smaller outfit than they are.
We do radios, we do all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And anything spent on that particular vehicle goes in that particular vehicle.
And I don't know if there's, I'm just, I know there is, but we're gonna figure out, I'm sure, like an asset, tracking software of some kind.
Well, and what
We
I would
can
like
intersect in.
is a complete list of all of our assets. VIN number, and this
We've got all that already.
serial number.
Big stuff you're talking about, yeah.
I don't think we do brooms, but we do.
And this, according to her, it has to be done by department, so it'll be, maintenance, area, or water and sewer facilities, fire department will be a separate asset list,
Mhm.
but.
Got them.
All right. Well, Brian Dawson,
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.